The Louie T Network is powered by Music Head University. Music Heads, classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.
You're going to be great. It's on the line right now. The team just declined his fifth-year option, and he is elected once again to go back to his philosophy of opting not to show up for these voluntary workouts.
I will never, ever understand this. I will never understand the people who back it. I will never understand the people that sit there and just go,
"It's voluntary. If your company asked you to do something voluntary, would you?"
If I sucked, then yeah. If I was in danger of having my ass handed to me and living on the street, then yes, I'll be there first with a little notepad and a pen. Oh, that's a good tip, Coach. Thank you very much, Mr. Boss Man. What else? What other information can I glean from you and your wisdom? Show up, get better at football. Hurry up, get better at football. Get better at football immediately. Immediately. 0 contributions for 2 years. Try so much harder. I cannot believe it. I can't believe that, and I can't believe the losers who defend it. I don't understand. He's not going to be friends with you. Okay, he may not see your tweets. He may not. You tagged him. This guy on the radio's talking junk about you. Be my friend. Come eat with me at Glory Days, loser. Go to football practice. Try to be better at football. Make it so important to you. What you've done in the past doesn't work. Failure, giant disappointment, massive zilch. I can't believe anybody is okay with this for a microsecond. If you don't post to the football thing, you best be Trent Williams. You better wreck shop. You better be unstoppable at an all-pro level. What's that? Oh, James Smith hyphen has been better than your ass. Scrap Heap Steve, Casey Tuthill, Hill, whatever his name is, has outperformed thee. Post. Try to get better at football all the time until you're great, then take some time off. If you're a Kansas City Chief, rest up, bro. Rest up. Nothing but achievement in that rearview mirror. Nothing but greatness back there. But I bet you a lot of those guys post, you know why? Because there's a cultural element to it. There's the ability to try to get better. If you're satisfied, you're wrong. If you're trying to do it your way sucks. Try to do it this way. Show up the way 90 people did. Figure it out. Grow up or don't. Better yet, don't. Keep going your way. And I'll see you in a different jersey next year. Enjoy it. I cannot understand the people who go, "I get voluntary" with your stupid clap emojis. Oh my God. Volunteer to go then. Volunteer to attend the thing where you can get better at football, which you've been terrible at for 2 years. If we're talking about a guy that's had 30 sacks over 2 seasons, you want to skip something in the springtime to film your Eastern Motors commercial? God bless you. When you've produced nothing, you get there. Trying to find a fight for a spot on the roster, the 57th guy, he posts. Your starting quarterback, he posts. Everybody has it figured out, except for those like this. I will never understand. After being specifically called out for this kind of behavior a couple years ago, what's changed? What's different? The best it's been has been miscommunication between Young and his camp and this GM coach nonsense group. Where the guy's playing this week, actually, no, he's not. And they've had embarrassing incidents. It's looked weird, like they're disconnected, like they haven't even spoken. What messages got through? Does Ron Rivera have any other buddies that went to Cal that can pen a column for the team website about how you need to grow up? What are we doing? Is anything important to you at all? How could it be more important for some pudgy idiot who commutes into DC every day and pays $1 million to park right downstairs in this dumb building and can't find a parking spot 2 days a week because that's when people come into the damn office? How can it be more important to me than it is to you for your career and your livelihood? Unless you think you've arrived, unless you think you've made it, because you were the number 2 pick in the draft, though, and you're a baller, though, an Instagram leader, an Instagram workout guy, inspirational speeches. Follow me on social media. All these people say, there's the videos of poster where he's like, "I'm not going to let you down. Follow me," said the guy that's fake tough. That's a fake leader. That does it when it's convenient, when the spotlight's on. This is when you lead. Now is the time when nobody else is watching. Away from the prying eyes. Now is the time when you establish something. Now is the time where you say, this is how we do it here. What's gone on in the past has not been good enough, period, point blank, end of story. Now is the time where you demonstrate this is a new leaf. This is a turn the page type moment here. Here is a crossroads, and you elected to do it on your own selfishly. Good luck to you. I can't wait to see you in a different jersey next year.
This is emblematic and symbolic for me of this entire 3+ years now. And that is the issue. For the people today that are going to say, it's voluntary, you guys got to get over it, you're haters though. You're the same people who multiple years ago screamed at me when I said, after he was the Rookie of the Year, and he was the only guy in the entire organization that didn't show up to work. And I said, man, and I didn't go crazy at the time. I just said, I don't like that. I want the face of my franchise, whose picture's on all the billboards and all the posters, who's on all the tickets, who I'm hoping ends up winning a Defensive Player of the Year award, to be busting his ass all offseason to get better. He was good as a rookie. Wasn't spectacular. A lot of people crowned him, but he was very good. He was the best defensive rookie that there was in a year with, down rookie production. But 7.5 sacks, impactful plays. He did some really good things. But when he didn't show up, red flag went up for me just a little bit, as if to say, is this the guy, like the leader of men, the guy that is going to take this defense to the promised land? And then he showed back up eventually. It might have been training camp or whenever. And he did that press conference where I think Matt Paras, the Bulldog, asked him about not showing up for OTAs. And he said, find this for me, Darius, I was getting my money, boss. Money that you can get with sacks, by the way. Money that you can get with tackles for loss. Money that you can get by achieving on the football field. And I'm not behooving him of being able to get money off the field, too. You should have 1 billion commercials. There is enough time in the offseason to tape every one of those commercials, to fly all over the country and all over the world filming for every company that exists.
Who else could it be? Me, your man, Louie T. Welcome to the Command Post Live. You know what it is. Post up. Take command. I, of course, am your Commander-in-Chief, Louie T. Thank you for joining me. Tonight is going to be pretty spicy. What the F is going on? It feels like the last 24 to 48 hours has been a whirlwind with this team, and it's OTAs. What the hell is going on right now? Like, I shouldn't have this much to talk about on May the 24th. I actually had to make a list of items that I needed to touch upon so that I didn't forget. I generally don't have to do that. There aren't that many things that I need to talk about this time of the year where I actually need to write them down so I don't forget them, because there are so many. But that is what I had to do tonight. What you just heard to start off tonight's show was an excerpt from the Grant and Danny Show. It is a radio program that I do not listen to. I told you I don't listen to any of these programs. But again, someone brought this to my attention, dropped it in my lap and said, here, you do with it what you must. And so I took a listen, as I always do when people bring me things. I don't ignore them. I don't just cast them aside. If it's pertinent, I thank them, whether it's pertinent or not. I thank them and I say, hey, man, I appreciate that. If it's not, I thank them anyway. And I keep it pushing. But I'm going to explore. I listen to it. And you know how I always tell you guys, if I'm not talking to you, then I'm not talking to you. But if I'm talking to you, then I'm talking to you. I guess he was talking to me, because I'm not defending Chase. I'm not one of these people out here saying it's voluntary. But I'm saying it's voluntary. I don't really give a shit. What Chase Young decides to do in May doesn't really bother me. At the end of the day, this would have made a lot bigger of a deal to me. This would have made me feel some type of way had they picked up the 5th-year option and he didn't show up. Had they paid him this humongous contract and he hadn't showed up. None of that is taking place. They didn't pick up the 5th-year option. They declined it. He's playing for his contract. If he can't show up in shape, ready to go and wreck shop whenever he decides to show up, and by all counts, Ron has said we're in communication for whatever that's worth, because clearly Ron and company have not been on, the same wavelength as far as communication is concerned with Chase Young. In quite some time, it feels like. They never know what the hell's going on with Chase. They want him here. He's not there. They think he's going to play. He's not playing. I thought Jack Del Rio, and I don't know if you guys had a chance to listen to the Julie Donaldson one-on-one with Jack, but it was pretty damn good. And, it wasn't anything spicy or juicy or anything. It was just Jack doing what Jack does. I told you, I love listening to Jack. Jack didn't pull any punches. He's coming from it with the perspective of an ex-player. So Jack is like, look, you got to have thick skin. If you're going to play ball and, you're going to get all this bread that's being thrown at you, then you got to be able to take criticism. And if you're right, I'm going to tell you you're right, and I'm going to pat you on the back, and I'm going to give you credit. If you're wrong, I'm going to tell you you're wrong. And I may air you out in the media, and it is what it is. But anything that I say to them, I've already told you to your face. So you ain't got to worry about that. It's not like somebody's going to run back and say, heard what Jack said about you? No, that's not how Jack operates. Jack's not going to give you too much, especially when we get to game planning and game plan specific stuff. Jack's not going to give you anything. But Jack pretty much said, so it's a results-based business. Over the last 2 years, Chase hasn't produced. So it is what it is. When guys produce, they get paid. Duran did it. Jonathan did it. Terry did it. And if Chase wants to get paid, if Montez wants to get paid, they got to do it. Facts. Had they already done it at a high level, they probably would have been paid already. But they haven't. And so here we are, right? And, what's funny is one of the lines, and you all, this is why I told you got to listen. Stop talking and just listen, right? When people talk, listen. That's how you learn. Jack had a throwaway line that if you weren't paying attention, it would have just shoo right over your top, right over your melon, right? Jack said, hopefully he can get his mentals right, he being Chase, and come back ready to play some big-time football, essentially is what he said. I said, get his mentals right. That was a shot at Chase from last year. We have this discussion. It's the same reason, and I told you guys this already, it's the same reason that Cole Holcomb is no longer a Commander. Cole Holcomb had an injury that the training and medical staff told Ron and company, hey, he can play. He won't be 100% the remainder of the year, and it's a pain tolerance thing, and it will require surgery after the season's done, but he can play through it if he wants. And Cole was like, but I don't want to. And so Cole is like, I'm going into a contract year. Don't want to put any bad tape out there. And it's not like the team went to Cole and said, hey, man, in good faith, you play through this. We got you at the end of the season, no matter what. If they would have done that, Cole probably would have played through that injury. But that's not what they're going to do, because that's not how this works. Okay? If I put bad tape out there, you're going to let my ass go, and other teams around the league are going to say, hey, that was some pretty bad tape. And you could go there and tell them, hey, I was dealing with such and such. Look, I just had surgery. This is the proof. And they might, oh, okay, cool. But they still might not sign your ass. You right? So he had to do what was best for him. And so Washington did what they felt like was best for them. Out of spite, I'm not bringing your ass back. I'm going to go sign Cody Barton. They still feel some type of way about Chase not playing last year when he said he was going, when they thought he could play. Medically, this man was cleared to play in week 9. Medically, he was cleared to play in week 9. But they said, nah, not going to put him out there. He's not ready. And we were all on board like, look, until he's 110% ready, don't put him out there. Definitely didn't want him out there on a rain-soaked Sunday against the Atlanta Falcons at home. That's when they thought they were getting him back. They really thought he was going to be back against the Texans in week 11. That was the day they circled and said, hey, Chase should be ready to rock. He was like, nah, I'll come back next week. Then it rained, and he was like, nah, I'll come back next week. Then he was like, hey, it's New York, it's the Meadowlands, it's the Giants. That's the worst turf in the league. Nah, I'll be back after the bye week. Biggest game of the season. Everybody's expecting Chase. We all said Chase will be back after the bye. This is a massive game. He'll be out there with his brothers, man. He'll be out there with his bros. And then the first shot they show us after, they have the sideline reporter talk to one of the coaches before the game. The first shot is of Chase Young trying to hype up guys in street clothes, in civvies. And we already knew he wasn't playing, but it still was like, bro, what are you doing, man? And then he finally shows up to play ball against the 49ers. He finally was mentally ready. And I told you, he rubbed me the wrong way with his comments about football not defining him. It felt defensive. Felt like a guy that knew he was doing some shit that he shouldn't have been doing, and now he was getting defensive. I want to like Chase Young, and I want him to prove everybody wrong. I don't want him to be a bust. I don't want him to end up being Jadeveon Clowney. But boy, does it feel like it's heading into Jadeveon Clowney territory. It really feels like it. And at this point, I've already resigned to the fact that I don't think Chase is going to be that dude. Like, some of you guys are okay with Chase being, a 8-9 sack dude. That's not what you spend the number 2 overall pick on. You spend the number 2 overall pick on an edge rusher, he should look like Von Miller. He was a number 2 overall pick. You spend the number 2 overall pick on an edge rusher, he should look like Nick Bosa. He was the number 2 pick overall. I was expecting something like Micah Parsons. I'm jealous. I'm not going to lie to you. I thought our shit was going to look like that. Ours looks nothing like that. And so at this point, if Chase balls, I already told you, once a family member, always a family member. I don't give a shit he's not at OTAs. I'm not one of these people that get bent out of shape because I'm not a company guy. Okay? You see what I'm over here doing. I'm not answering anybody's beckon and call. I'm not over here responding to, hey, you better show up. I got to take an extra, I got to take my lunch break 30 minutes later than I'm supposed to. I can't take a 10-minute break. I'm not that dude. I'm not a company guy. People with a company mentality are going to side with the company. That's what they do. Okay. I don't have a company man mentality. So I'm like, it's not mandatory. And Ron said, we're in contact for whatever that's worth. Again, I don't know what that actually means anymore, but he said they've been in contact. And he said, when we have mandatory camp, they'll be here. They were here the first week. When we have the mandatory minis, they'll be here for those. Okay. I believe you. Whatever. At the end of the day, it ain't my money. Okay. It ain't my money on the line. If these guys think this is what's best for them, all right, do whatever you feel like is the best for you in your situation. I just know if he doesn't perform, he won't be here next year. Same with Montez. Same with Charles Leno Jr. I don't give a shit if they're here or not. I'm not one of these people that's going to get bent out of shape about somebody not showing up in May. You think Chase Young showing up in May is going to be the difference between 6 sacks and 13 sacks in the season? If that's what you think, bless your soul, bless your heart, bless your whole being. Okay. But for those of us rooted in reality, the rest of us are going to tell you, you need to go find the nearest sink, turn it as cold as you can turn it. Turn that right faucet all the way up. Don't touch the left faucet. Leave that be. Turn the right faucet all the way up. Stick both hands under the spigot. Get the biggest glob of the iciest, coldest water you can get and splash it on your face and get your mind right. That's how I feel. Why is this a big deal? And the media, boy, they fueling the fire, I swear. Because a lot of them think with the company man mentality. They work for somebody, right? So they all have that, well, Chase isn't producing. Why isn't he here? You don't want to be there. Trent Williams never came. Now, again, This is the argument. It's a counter argument to that. Trent Williams is an all-pro. Trent Williams was always killing it. So he could show up whenever the hell he wanted to show up. Touche. I'm not going to argue with you. It's a preference thing. It's a preference thing. At the end of the day, those guys are going to have to show up and show out when they get there, whenever they show up. They're going to have to show up and show out. If they do, they'll be rewarded. All of these people talking shit, zip it. If they don't, all those people will have megaphones saying, I told you so. I told you he was a bum and he was a bust. All of that good stuff. And I'll be like, deuces, man. Hey, it was nice while you were here. Appreciate your contribution. I see you on the other side. And we move on to the next dude. But it's just amazing seeing how divisive something in May can be. You know, my whole thought process really truly was, and Ron put me at ease today. He disarmed me. I was ready. I was reaching. Ron said, hey, oh, what you reaching for? I see you reaching over there. Don't reach. I was reaching. I was going to pull it out. All right. Ron said, hey, put it back in the holster. I see what you about to do. Because I was about to fire off. I was about to squeeze. I was about to pull off a couple of rounds. Let it off. And Ron said, hey, Charles Leno ain't here. Charles has been in this offense before. The same shit he had in Chicago. He realized that when he was here a couple of weeks back, said that he didn't need to be here. I said, okay. Because I was like, everybody want to dump on Chase. And, you know, if you want to, you can get after Tez. Ain't nobody really talking about Tez, though. Everybody's really more so focused on Chase. And I was like, to hell with those two. This the same defense they done had, right? Jack ain't switched shit up, right? It's the same defensive scheme. You got the same defensive line coach. This ain't a new coach. It ain't shit new being implemented, really, right? Maybe there's a couple of new things they can do, a couple of new wrinkles they got because they got some more guys that can cover on the outside. Maybe. Quan Martin's at safety. Maybe they feel a little bit more comfortable doing some exotic shit. Maybe. I doubt it. Got Jeff Skanina as your defensive line coach. Same thing. You know, nothing's changed on the D-line. So I'm like, okay, whatever. But this is a brand new offensive scheme. You got a new offensive line coach. I mean, that voice has been in the room, but now he's taking over. He's running things in that room. Is Travell Wharton. And I'm thinking, man, everything's brand new. Young, fresh, and new on the offensive side. Why aren't you there? Why isn't anybody talking about him not being here? And Ron was like, oh, nah, because he already know the offense. All of this is familiar to him. Okay, fine. If you say. So at the end of the day, let me be very clear about my stance on OTAs. I feel like Allen Iverson talking about practice. Are we talking about OTAs? Not a game, not training camp, but OTAs. Not a game, not even training camp, but OTAs. Are we here? Are we on the same page here? Because I saw some videos. I saw people like, yo, Sam is killing it. And I'm like, huh. Now, you do know it's May, right? It's May 23rd. They're like, yo, Sam is out here slinging it, though. It's May. Are you really looking for some excitement or some kind of emotion out of me in May with no pads on? Am I really supposed to be over the moon? Now, here's my thought process. Anytime you do something, I don't care what it is. If you're doing it competitively, I want you to put your best foot forward. Always. Like Coca-Cola. Always. Okay? So if Sam's out here throwing against air, I want him to look sharp. If Sam's going through 7-on-7, 11-on-11, I want him to look sharp. Okay? I want people to come back and tell me Sam had a fantastic day. He only had 4 incompletions and 3 of them were drops. I want them to come back and tell me that. But what I don't want is people running around doing laps. Look, I started a campaign around this man. If anybody is going to benefit from him doing well, it's me. Okay? I want him to do well. I believe in him. But I am not going to be running around beating the table and the drum in May about Sam Howell performing in OTAs. Okay, so let me just be clear. I want Sam to do well. I want him to put his best foot forward. I don't give a shit. You know what I'm more concerned about this time of the year? What moves the needle for me? Things that are being said, listening to the coaching staff talk, listening to what the players are saying, hearing that Eric Bieniemy is kicking ass out at practice, being loud, being demanding, being on them, holding players accountable. That's the shit that moves the needle for me. You know why? Those are transferable traits into August and into September and moving forward into the future. Setting the tempo now in practice, making sure guys aren't jogging, making sure they're getting out of the huddle, him getting on people's asses now in May so that he doesn't have to in July and August and September. Those things resonate with me. Listening to Ron talk, listening to Jack talk, listening to Jonathan Allen and Terry McLaurin and Cam Curl, all of them talk about the energy and it's vibrant and how EB's having an impact. That shit resonates with me. Because that transfers to July. That transfers over to August. They put pads on, and Sam could go from this budding star to shrivel up into this ridiculously overhyped garbage 5th-round pick. We don't know. Emmanuel Forbes could have 80 picks in May. They put the pads on, and all of a sudden, he's quiet. Like, there's no physicality right now. Or as I like to say, there's no threat of violence in May. Zero. Okay? Until there's a threat of violence, don't talk to me about performances out on the field, okay? I'll pass on those. But what I am interested in, when people hit me up, and I've had several people hit me up like, yo, I went to practice over the, last couple of days. EB's getting on their ass. They not getting out of the huddle fast enough. Y'all get back in there, do that shit again. Tempo, hurry up. Somebody's jogging off the field. Get off the field. Somebody's jogging back to the huddle. Hurry up. We got tempo. That's what I want to hear. Because there needs to be a culture change. And that's and this is the thing. Terry said it best. Terry told Eric Bieniemy when he got here, he said, look, you won't have a problem with this group. They want to be coached harder. We got the dogs in that room. We just need somebody to come in here and bring it out. And Eric said, you just need a little bit more nasty. And Terry said, yeah, that's what we need. Yeah, we need some more nasty. Because Eric Bieniemy wants them to be nasty boys. Nasty boys. He wants them to be some nasty boys. And we've been nice guys. How long have I been telling you? We got Boy Scouts, man. Jamin Davis and guys that have come from military backgrounds. No, sir. Yes, sir. There's nothing wrong with that. But we don't have the guys rough around the edges like Micah Parsons, who people dropped down their draft board because they thought he was a bad guy. He was hazing guys at Penn State. That was the word out on the street. We would never. We're going to take Jamin Davis instead because he's a good, clean, wholesome kid. We need some nasty, man. All right, we need some nasty. Like, you know what Jonathan Allen said? He said it's a different energy out here. It feels different. This is what I'm talking about. This is what I want to hear. I don't give a shit about who's doing what in OTAs in May, okay? This is what I want to hear. The players saying, yo, this shit is different. Because I can tell you it feels different till my damn face turns blue. Because guess what? This is the shit that we do this time of the year. We talk about, oh, this feels different. And I didn't say this feels different last year until we won in week 1 against Jacksonville. And I said, look, we would have blown this game. After Carson threw the 2 picks in a row and Jacksonville took the lead, we would have lost. We would have tucked our tails between our legs and we would have lost that football game. But we didn't. I said, this feels different. Then the offensive line collapsed and it wasn't different. It was the same old shit. Jonathan Allen said after OTA day number 2 today, after practice, this feels different. And the biggest reason why is because of Eric Bieniemy. He said, I love that style. And we know how Jonathan is. He came from Alabama with Nick Saban, who was a demanding coach, not unlike, Bill Belichick. Jonathan Allen would flourish and thrive in New England. That's the kind of coach that he wants, kind of structure and discipline that he seeks. Okay. That's what works best for him because he came from a military strict upbringing. So that doesn't faze him. As a matter of fact, he feels like that brings the best out of you. And Eric Bieniemy is coming in with that type of style, demanding, very vocal, hard on these players. Remember what Patrick Mahomes said, and I regurgitated this 50 million times when we got EB on board. He held everybody accountable. Didn't matter who, me, Travis Kelce, from the 53rd dude on the roster to, the guy at the highest on the pecking order. Didn't matter, excuse me. Held us accountable every single day. And you're seeing it. And it's having an impact. Cam Curl, who's not much for, words and doesn't say much, was like, yo, it's different. They coming out here with different plays. It looks different. They trying to take the top off on us. We ain't having it, though. Which I like that, spiciness back at them. Like, nah, y'all can try, but we ain't having that. But that's the EB effect. He's changing the culture. I told you this feels like a head coach. This don't feel like an offensive coordinator. And Ron has made it abundantly clear. I didn't give out the assistant head coach title for a reason. I don't just take that lightly. I don't just give that to anybody. He could have gave it to Jack. He's like, nah. Jack had his turn. He's been a head coach in this league twice. I ain't giving him shit. I've been saving this. Had this ace in my back pocket the whole time. Now I'm going to unleash it. We don't know if this is going to work or not. We don't know if Eric Bieniemy is going to be here past the 2023 season. We don't know anything. All we know is that it's different. I've been saying different all offseason. This feels different. They're not trying the same thing. It's different. This is a good thing because what we've done in the past hasn't worked. So, and maybe that's what Danny Rouillet is trying to say, is that what Chase has done in the past hasn't worked. So try something different, like showing up. That's fine. That's fine. I don't know what he did in his rookie season. I honestly, I don't care. What matters to me is what happens when the games actually count. And unfortunately, today we got some bad news, which is why I'm dressed in all black like the Omen. For the most part, we've been really fortunate. We've been really fortunate, really since Reuben Foster. What was that, 2018 maybe? We haven't had one of these types of injuries hit us in the offseason like that. We don't do offseason season enders. We've been pretty clean from that standpoint. Reuben Foster, I think, was the last major injury that we had in the offseason before we even got to training camp that rocked us. Where you go, shit. Oh well, Before that, it seemed like every other year Junior Gillette was tearing some shit and couldn't play. But yeah, it's usually a guy that, and again, not that I wasn't excited for Amani Rodgers, because I was. And of all the tight ends, he was the one that I probably was most excited to see. But if it's going to be somebody that you lose, it sucks because I don't want to lose anybody. But if you're going to take Amani Rodgers from me, I'll survive. I'm pretty sure I'll be like Gloria Gaynor. I will survive. Next man up. All right, Hodges. All right, Curtis Hodges. Get your ass in there. You're up. See what you got. They've been lauding and praising you, talking about how much of a difference maker you can be. Get your big, tall, 6'8" ass in there and let's see what you got. That's what football is all about. Next man up. It's tough, man. It's brutal. I would love to sit here and lament the loss of Armani Rogers and, nah. It's next man up, man. Injuries happen. This is the most brutal sport out there, outside of MMA and maybe boxing, depending on if you're getting your ass whooped. But this shit is brutal, man. This shit is brutal. And I feel for Armani Rogers. It sucks because we already didn't have a ton, a tight end that we were really excited about to begin with. And let me just stop all of you in your tracks. Just like Ron stopped me from pulling mine out. I had it out of the holster, and Ron was like, bro, put it back in. Don't even pull it out. Let me stop all of the we should have drafted a tight end crowd out there right now. Don't even worry about it. You just keep that to yourself. We don't even need to go there. All right? Because that ain't going to change shit. We should have taken a tight end. We should have taken Dalton Kincaid. Nah. Don't trip. What's done is done. Next man up. Sucks for Armani Rogers. Sucks for the offense. I had high hopes for him. He'll be back next year. He'll be back. Long road to recovery for him. Wish him nothing but the best. But we got to forge forward. So that's a tough one. But I do want to tell y'all, though, that the nHo is in full effect. Y'all going to find out about Sam, man. I love it, though. I love this time of the year because we don't know what we don't know. And everything is pretty much hype at this point. We're excited. We're going to hype some shit up. I made sure I put my bid in before any of this got underway, just so y'all knew where I stood. Ain't no, front running here. Y'all know where I was before this man was showing y'all what's really good. He's coming. Sam's going. When people talk, I listen. And when your coach, one of your former coaches, his former offensive coordinator at UNC, when he says, and again, he didn't have to say this. This is the thing. When people go out of their way to make statements like this, just understand that there's an extra level of trust that they have in that individual to back up the shit that they're saying. Right? Because I don't have to go out of my way to laud and praise you. Okay? I can do the bare minimum and let everybody know that you were a pleasure to coach. I wish you nothing but the best. This guy's got a really good skill set, and I think you guys are going to be happy. He could have left it at that. He didn't have to go above and beyond the call of duty with effusive praise. He didn't have to say, when it's all said and done, there'll be a 30 for 30 on all the quarterbacks taken before Sam Howell and how Sam Howell managed to fall to the 5th round. I keep trying to tell y'all, Ron is a lot of things. And look, I don't think Ron's a great coach. I don't think any of us do at this point. And I was on Tim's show last night. If you haven't had a chance to check it out, check out Tim's show. I was up there. We had a good time. And I voiced to him about Ron. And I told you guys the same thing already. But I said to him, Ron has already done what he was brought here to do. And just like they do in the military, you tell them, thank you for your service. I thank Ron for his service. Because Ron has come in here and he's changed the culture. He withstood a lot of BS that I don't think a lot of coaches would have been able to do, all the while having to battle cancer. There's a lot going on in that man's life. Lost his mom, all of that good stuff. Say what you want about Ron. No, he's not a great head coach. Probably mediocre, as a matter of fact. But you know what the best bosses do? The best people in charge do? They put other smart people in charge. Usually you don't want to be the smartest in the room. If you are, that's a problem, because that means you need to be doing, everything or the most important things. And as a boss, you want to delegate. Ron finally made a smart decision and brought somebody else in here to take pressure off of him, because he's not a great coach. So what do? You go out and you get somebody else that's a great coach, a great motivator, and you bring them in and you let them do the heavy lifting and you take all the credit. That's what Ron's preparing to do this year. If shit goes well, guess who's going to get credit for it? Ron Rivera. If Sam Howell turns out to be extraordinary under the tutelage of Eric Bieniemy, who's going to get credit for that? Yeah. Ron Rivera. So Ron did the smart thing. He went out and got a guy that he thinks is going to motivate everybody. And you think Ron is doing this by happenstance, betting his career? Because if he gets fired this year, he's done as a head coach. If he's a football lifer like Jack Del Rio, he'll go back to being somebody's coordinator or something like that. But Ron's probably more suited to be in somebody's studio, working for ESPN or Fox, CBS Sports or something. His head coaching career is done. He doesn't get it done this year. You think him inserting Sam is him just rolling the dice? Kiss it, hope it comes up nice? Hell no. He isn't betting his future as a coach in this league on just anybody. They know Sam is about to tear this shit up. That's why Ron's confident. They know they got Terry, Jahan, Curtis, Diami, Antonio Gibson, Brian Robinson. They know they got weapons. All Sam has to do, all they got to do is put the right 5 guys in front of Sam and let Sam cook. And a change gonna come. Did you see what I just did there? Nah, a lot of y'all didn't see what I just did there. I ain't even gonna go back and rewind it for you. I just need y'all to know that the nHo is in full effect. And like I'll be sure, I'm in full effect mode. And I'm about to turn up. Okay? It's about to get real out in the field here on the LouieTeeNetwork. The next time we have a Super Friends stream, I'm turning it up on their ass. Like Juvie, 400 degrees. I hope y'all ready. Either you with me or you're not. And if you're not, I'm not mad. Y'all know I'm not mad about that. Sometimes I get out of pocket. Every now and again, I need Derek B to say, bro, whoa, whoa, whoa. Pipe down. Relax. Be easy. Sometimes I need that. I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I can get ahead of myself. Stop popping my shit, and all of a sudden, I'm like, did I really say that? But I'm confident this year. I'm confident. Really confident. Not overly confident to the point where it's ridiculous, like, oh, we about to win 13 games. Nah, I ain't talking reckless like that. But I'm confident. And what we going to put on the field week in, week out, what Sam Howell's going to bring to the table. All we've been missing is a quarterback. I hope y'all know that. Like, I'm not saying we're just been missing a quarterback from being in the Super Bowl. Nah, that's not what I'm saying. But what I'm telling you is better quarterback play probably has us in the playoffs each of the last 3 years under Ron Rivera. You might not want to hear that. But better play at the quarterback position in 2021, even with the trifling-ass defense we had for the first half of the season, better quarterback play probably has us in the playoffs in 2021. Better quarterback play definitely has us in the playoffs in 2022. We beat the Cleveland Browns if we get any semblance of a quarterback in that game. Any semblance of a quarterback. Heineke in that game, we win the game. The Browns were awful. we were worse because of the quarterback. Yeah, and the defense wasn't all that great either, but they did enough. Okay. Yeah, they let the rope go. After they saw what the offense was doing, they let the rope go. Okay. I'm not going to sit here and defend the defense, but we were up after just an abysmal first half. We were up 7-6 at halftime. After Carson Wentz put together the worst 20-play drive I've ever seen in my life. We were up 7-6. The defense let the rope go when they saw this mother effer about to lose us the game. And coach ain't going to take his stinking ass out. They said, well, F it, we might as well let the shit go. nHo is in full effect, man. New Howell order. Just so y'all know. So I got one more thing that I want to talk about. And it's just crazy because all of this shit has happened really in the last 48 hours or so. Somebody sent me, my guy Joe Rockhead, a couple of screenshots of a trademark. And I really didn't know what to make of it. You know, I was trying to internalize what this meant. And I did a little bit of research because I didn't want to ask him, what does this mean? Because I was like, maybe I'm supposed to know what this means. Maybe I'm being slow right now. So I just went and did the homework myself. And I was like, oh. So apparently, the trademark for the Washington Commanders somehow ran out. Dan? That's his last little dirty, dick, dastardly deed on the way out. And you know, squatters are always looking for their opportunity. You drop the ball and those boys are waiting. And somebody's already put in for the trademark Washington Commanders. And so the team has been, I think, denied the claim that they put in for the trademark of Washington Commanders. Now, that doesn't mean that they're going to have to change the name per se. What it means is they may have to approach said squatter and they're going to have to come off a considerable amount of bread. Now, if we're going to treat this squatter like a terrorist, and you know how the Americans always say, we don't give in to the demands of terrorists. Okay? If you're treating this squatter like a terrorist, then you're changing the name, is essentially what you're going to do. If I'm squatting on a big business like the NFL in a name, I'm not looking for chump change. I'm looking to absolutely club you over the head. So my guess is either they're going to conform, they're going to find a way to fall in line and give that person whatever it is they want. If this is in fact true, and I have no reason to doubt that this is true, or we're going to have another new name. Yay! Another new name. Excellent. New jerseys, new logo, all of that stuff. Hooray. Again, nobody knows anything right now. Nobody. As Ron said, look, I don't know anything. We can't sign anybody. We can't extend anybody. We can't do anything other than sign our rookies. Like Cam Curl wants a new deal. Bro, not happening. Nobody's getting any new bread until the new owners get in here and decide what they want to do. And if I'm new ownership, I'm like, hey, don't sign no damn body. Nothing. Nobody gets any new bread until we get settled in and see what the hell's going on. And then, and only then, will I give you the green light to do. Because if I'm new ownership, I'm like, bro, you don't get to make any decisions because I'm not even sure you're going to be here next year. I don't want you re-signing a bunch of your guys because you may not be here to coach them. So, I mean, we're kind of right now stuck in neutral, waiting on this thing to kind of pass through and see where we go from here. So we don't know how Josh Harris feels about Ron Rivera. This ain't the NBA. I've already laid this out for you. This ain't the NBA. Players don't run this league. It ain't 15 guys on that bench. It's 53 dudes. So you can't come in here and just say, hey, let me go get a new coach just because. You know, if Ron has a really good year, I highly doubt you get rid of Ron. Now, Ron stinks it up or he starts 2-6 again. Hey, by all means, do what you got to do. I'm here for it. But that, to me, is very troubling if, in fact, it is true that the trademark to the Washington Commanders name belongs to some Joe Schmo that's been squatting on it, had the opportunity, swooped in, snagged it, and now is waiting for, you know, the NFL to approach, or the Commanders to approach and say, hey, what is it going to take to get the name back? How do you even get to a position where we're in, if this is in fact the case, how do you even get to a position like this? Anyway, I just thought it was worth mentioning. We'll see where that goes. Just like everything else with this team right now, nobody knows anything. So we're kind of in limbo. We'll see what happens. When are we going to have an off season that is just quiet? And nothing about this off season was going to be quiet. And I wasn't looking for a quiet off season this year because we were looking to get Dan the hell out of here. Eric Bieniemy was looking to come in and be loud and boisterous. So we weren't looking for a quiet off season. But I was looking for quiet in terms of, you know, drama. We knew the Dan, you know, sale of the team wasn't going to go smoothly. There was no way that this thing was going to happen without a hitch. Nothing in this tenure of Dan Snyder has gone off without a hitch. So why would we think that this would be any different? From Brian Davis trying to hold up the process and you know, file an injunction against Bank of America, to Dan having demands on the way out, to the league having some issues, dotting the I's and crossing the T's with the Harris Group's financials. Did you really think this was going to be clean? The last thing I expected, though, was for the name Commanders to not be in the possession of the team in the organization. That was the last thing I was thinking about. Anyway, I told you I don't have enough fight left in my body for something that I really truly don't care enough about to even give it, you know, much more than, hey, I'm paying attention, but I'm not fighting anything. I told you, if they change the name, I'm not fighting it. I don't care enough. If they change the uniforms, I don't care. I'm not fighting it. I don't care enough. I'm not invested enough. Where my investment lies is with these players, the staff, and winning football games. That's where my investment lies. That's why I get so passionate on game day, after the game, the whole week leading up to the game, for the nightly news. That's why I get passionate, because I care about that. I'm invested in that. Don't you just love this organization, though? Don't you just love? Monty Rogers tears his, Achilles. Chase doesn't show up. Montez doesn't show up. That's a big deal, especially Chase. Trademark may not be in possession of the team. We're right where we need to be. I feel like this is our comfort zone. Like, dysfunction is what we seem to function in best. Hasn't worked out for us well. So we don't really know what functioning in a normal situation looks like and what that may actually yield us. But what I tend to do is I tend to listen and lean towards the players and really kind of gauge. And what I've learned over the years listening to former players is that players tend to stay in their own little bubbles, isolate themselves from a lot of this stuff that we talk about, that we obsess about, and just focus in on ball because they don't have the bandwidth to be able to worry about the shit that we worry about as fans. All they can focus on is the game plan for the upcoming opponent. It's already hard enough to do that. So we just got to zero in on that. And you know what? That's where the players are. And as long as they're focused on the task at hand, I'm good. Everything else will kind of take care of itself. But it was good to hear from the fellas. It was good to hear from Antonio Gibson. It's good to hear from Cam Curl. It was good to hear from Terry McLaurin and Jonathan Allen. Quan Martin, first time hearing from him. Really good to hear from the fellas. See where everybody's at, where their head is, how things are going, how they feel about EB, how they feel about, the energy around the team and the building. And to a man, they've all said the same thing. Shit feels good. Feels different. Very demanding, but this is what we need. So, if they're good, I'm good. So, with that said, let's get to the comment section. Wow, that was a lot. Michael White, stand up. You are the newest member of the MOBB. Mob, you know what to do. Welcome our guy, Michael, with open arms to the squad. Michael, glad to have you on board. Look forward to chopping it up with you in the future. Welcome to the squad. Michael White. Mob, y'all know what it is. Stand up. We in the building. Always. Welcome aboard, Michael White. Mr. Pink, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Mr. Pink writes, sup, LT, double E. Appreciate you. What's going on with you? Mr. Pink here with a quick question. He says, firstly, thank you for playing that 106.7, the fan clip. Scolding, smoldering, 0 punches pulled anyway. Love Forbes, but should have got Kincaid. I think this is kind of what I was alluding to earlier. Didn't know you were going to super chat about it. But this doesn't change anything. First of all, you can't love Forbes yet. You haven't seen him play in a Washington uniform. I think you're just kind of saying, like, that's your way of saying, hey, no disrespect to him, but I always tell people when someone says no disrespect, don't take this the wrong way. Then there's a conjunction, right? Usually it's but. However, every word thereafter in the next sentence is disrespect. So love Forbes, but here comes the disrespect. Should not have drafted him. Should have taken a tight end. Well, they couldn't have predicted that they were going to have their tight end go down in the first day of OTAs. They didn't know that. And remember, they had extras, right? They had an extra clip, right? They had an extra clip. They had 5 tight ends on the roster that they liked. Only 4 of them were going to make the team. Now you're down to 4. So they're like, yeah, this really sucks. Oh, but we got another one. So they just pull the next one out and they keep it pushing. Now we can't afford any more injuries to the position. We got to stay relatively healthy. This doesn't allow for any more injuries, is what this injury has effectively done. And now this puts a lot of pressure on Cole Turner because he is the one athlete that remains amongst the group. Logan Thomas is not a fantastic athlete. Neither is John Bates. I can't say that Curtis Hodges isn't an athlete, but at 6'8", probably 250, probably not the most fleetest of foot, if I had to guess. So that leaves Cole Turner as the one guy with any athletic prowess amongst the group. So we're going to need him to step up. We were going to look for him to step up this year anyway. So we'll see what happens. Drafting Dalton Kincaid, I don't think was the answer. Because if you ask me what's more important, helping the offense with a tight end or helping the defense with a number 1 corner, I don't think that anybody would side with taking the tight end. If you put it that way, if you frame it that way, I'm not saying that that's the way to look at it. That's the way I'm looking at it. You don't have to view it in that same light and from that same perspective. But that's the prism I'm viewing it through, is that if you're weighing the 2 options, taking a tight end to help bolster what is already a fantastic offense, could it have been even better with a big-time tight end? Absolutely. Absolutely. But is the difference great enough that you pass potentially on a first-rate corner, a number 1 corner, which we're not quite sure if we technically have or not? Is that a bigger change to this team, getting a number 1 corner or getting a number 1 tight end? I'd take the number 1 corner, personally, myself. So you want more turnovers. They drafted a guy, and listening to Jack's like, this dude is a ball magnet. Okay. The ball really likes Emmanuel Forbes. And look, one thing I've learned from players is that they can tell really quickly. And as fans, I think we do a pretty good job of analyzing talent as well and being able to decipher if a guy stinks or not very early on. I don't like to put that in the atmosphere, though. So I'm usually not going to be the guy that says, hey, this dude is trash. Because there's a such thing as being a late bloomer. But couldn't we all tell that AGG wasn't it? After like the first 3 games we saw him in, he was like, oh my God. But he was a 4th round pick. It's not like he was a 1st or a 2nd round pick. He was a 4th round pick. But I think we could tell, like, oy vey. I think we could tell about Josh Doxson after the 2nd year, like, it's probably not going to work. He's probably going to end up being a bust. We don't know what Emmanuel Forbes is going to be. But because an injury happened at tight end, I don't think it confirms that we should have taken Dalton Kincaid. I disagree. But you're entitled to your opinion, Mr. Pink. This doesn't change the way I feel. You know? My problem was never with Emmanuel Forbes. Even in the moment, my problem was with the guy that they took at the cornerback position. And I said this on Tim's show yesterday. I don't think they planned on Christian Gonzalez being available at 16. I don't think they planned for that. Because it would have been so easy had he already been gone to just take Emmanuel Forbes. Nobody would have blinked. No one would have batted an eye. If they would have made that same pick and Gonzalez had been taken 2 picks earlier, we would have said, damn it, we should have traded up. Damn it, he was right there. He almost made it to us. And then they took Forbes, and you just would have been like, all right, cool. Might have reached a little bit, but whatever. But he was there. And they didn't count on that. They thought him and Devon Witherspoon were going to be gone. And they were wrong. And it made, the reaction to the pick a little bit different. They don't care. That's one thing I can say about the selection. They don't care. They're really confident in what they did. They already had made up their minds on who they were going to take. They wanted turnovers, and they feel like they went and got the guy that was the best in the draft at creating them. We will see. I'm not flipping now after an injury. So we'll see what happens. Thank you for that super chat, though, Mr. Pink. Rob, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Rob U, writes, what up, Lou? What's going on, Rob U? If he says Cam Curl is an essential part of our defense, but is Quan Martin his eventual replacement if they can come to an agreement? I'm assuming if they can't come to an agreement. I don't know if they drafted his replacement or not, because I think a lot of you are missing what Quan Martin truly is. Quan Martin, for all intents and purposes, is a nickel. Like a true Cam Curl is not a true nickel corner. We've tried him in that role, and he's been torched. He's not a nickel, okay? Cam Curl runs a 4.6, and when we put him in man-to-man against Cooper Kupp, he looked like he ran a 4.6. We're good on that. Cam Curl is going to be allowed to do what Cam Curl does best, and that's be a utility weapon, a Swiss Army knife of the highest order. Wherever you need him, you play him, and he produces. That's not going to change, and Quan Martin isn't going to change his role because it's a different role, honestly. The real question is, how do you get all these players on the field at once? And that's a great problem to have for the staff, and they're going to have to figure that out. But you're going to see a lot of three, safety sets if you consider Quan Martin a safety. Again, I've told you, they have him listed on the team website as a DB, whatever that means, right? At the end of the day, if he's a safety, they're going to have a lot of three safety looks. They've already been playing a ton of three safety looks. Remember, Bobby McCain was on the field. So all they've essentially done is they've taken Bobby McCain off the field and inserted Quan Martin. So that doesn't change Cam Curl's role at all. Nada. So that's all they've done is essentially they've said, hey, we like the kid that we took last year in the 4th round, Percy Butler, but we love Quan Martin. So we thought we got Bobby McCain's replacement last year in the draft. We were wrong. We got his replacement now, though, in Quan Martin. That's essentially what has transpired. So I don't think they've drafted his replacement necessarily. But, if the negotiations go off the rails and they can't come to an agreement, they may have a guy on the roster that they're comfortable with putting him in that role. But if Cam's on the roster, Cam's Cam, and he'll have a role carved out for himself. And right now, nothing has changed. All they did was they subtracted Bobby McCain and added Quan Martin. Bobby McCain was pretty much on the field for every snap last year, and now they've got a new guy in his place. If you recall, Bobby McCain ended the season last year as our nickel. He wasn't very good. Now they're going to try Quan Martin in that role. So we'll see how he fares. So I don't think Quan Martin is his eventual replacement. But, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Mr. Pink, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up, Mr. Pink. Who writes, the question is, can Cole Turner be the guy or FA? So it's too late in the game to go free agency route. There's nothing on the streets now, and I don't think there'll be anything on the streets after the dust settles and the smoke clears from, training camp, preseason, and, regular season cuts down to 53. You're not going to find anything necessarily worth salvaging. I mean, we were able to get John Ridgway last year. We'll see if, Castro Fields turns into anything. We were able to get him off the 49ers last year. So there could be one of those type of players available, but you don't have to overreact to an injury. Injuries happen in this league. He'll be back next year, right? So if you've got 4 guys you like this year, and maybe the number is reduced to 3 now. Maybe you only go with 3 tight ends and you stick Curtis Hodges on the practice squad again. This time around, he'll be able and eligible to be, pulled up at your beck and call. And so maybe the move is to just go with 3 instead of 4. Maybe Alex Arma is your 4th tight end now, and you've got a fullback on the roster. There's ways they can play around with this. It doesn't have to be something that forces them to make a move. So I'm not overreacting. I'm disappointed because I was really excited about, of all the tight ends, Armani Rogers was the one I was most looking forward to seeing this year, seeing if there was going to be this monumental growth in year 2, similar to Defoe. I was looking forward to seeing if that could come to fruition and what he could potentially be. He still may be that. It just may be a year delayed. That's all. So I hate that it was an Achilles because those are a little bit different, but being that it happened so early, right? You have a full year to recover, rehab, and this time next year, he'll be back on the field more likely than not. More likely than not, he'll be back next year. It just depends on what kind of a healer is, how the injury goes, and then, the subsequent surgery, how effective does everything heal, and then his rehab process. He's a young man. He'll heal quickly, and you hope that he's able to get back to where he was. And look, there'll be opportunities for him. Even if they draft a guy next year, he'll be right in the mix. I truly believe this is Logan Thomas's last year here. Unless Logan has a fantastic year a la 2020, and he's like the 2nd or 3rd leading receiver on the team, and he's catching everything, and he's, absolutely the safety blanket that we've yearned for our young quarterback. He'll be gone next year. I believe that there are going to be a number of veterans. There aren't many of them on the roster that are 30 and over. We've gone through that exercise already, but he's one of the few that is on the roster, and I think he might be gone next year. So Cole Turner is who I'm focusing in on now. I'm like, bro, we drafted you last year. We were excited about you. We were told that you were this and you were that, and we got nothing. It's not uncommon for a 5th round pick to produce absolutely nothing in its rookie season. All of a sudden, expectations have changed on what 5th round picks are supposed to be. Now, we were sold a bill of goods last year. We were sold a dream on what this guy would, and injuries played a large part into that. He spent most of training camp healing instead of dealing out on the field. So, as much as we want to blame Scott Turner for his lack of usage of the tight ends, Cole Turner wasn't healthy last year. And then when he got healthy, they didn't trust him. And Armani Rogers had gotten all the reps, and they trusted him more than they trusted Cole Turner. I don't blame them. Full season under his belt. Hopefully he stays healthy. And now, hopefully we can look and turn to Cole Turner along with Logan Thomas and John Bates and the rest of that group. And look, we don't need one guy. It'd be nice, but we don't need one guy to stand up and say, hey, it's me at the tight end position. I hope you understand that. This can be done by committee. We don't need one guy to have 66 catches for 720 yards and 8 touchdowns. That'd be nice if one guy stood up and said, hey, that's me. You just called me. That was me. But that doesn't have to be the case. Collectively as a group, if they combine for those numbers that I just spit out, That's a success for us. That's a success. They can do that by committee. We don't have to have one guy do that. It'd be nice if Cole Turner stepped up and of the 780 yards, he had 500 of them. That'd be excellent. Or he had 423 of them. That'd be great. That's a step in the right direction. But at the end of the day, I really don't care where the hell the production comes from. We just need it. Whether it's Logan, it's John Bates, Cole Turner. Really, with the injury, the only guy that I think has the athletic profile to really scare opposing defenses up the seam, down the sideline is Cole Turner. So we'll see what happens. Don't think free agency is going to be the answer for us. Twin D, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Twin D, writes, I know that cash rules everything around me, Chase, but I feel like if Chase balls out, he'll play the I was disrespected card, and he'll use that as a reason to leave. Kind of hope I'm wrong. I already told y'all when this thing first happened, because I was team pick up the option. And I said, I wonder if Chase is going to view that as a sign of disrespect. Because you can take this one of two ways. Either you can use it as fuel to motivate you and go out and ball and have the Deron Payne treatment where the team comes to you and says, hey, we believed in you the entire time, but we just needed to see it. We needed you to believe. And then he gets broken off and he stays. Keep in mind, this is his hometown. I doubt that he wants to leave. But, and you won't find many markets more lucrative than the one he's in, by the way. Like, if we get new ownership in here and they do this thing the right way, this is going to be a booming market again. Hope you guys understand that. So, if I'm Chase, I'm taking this thing in stride. I'm not tripping, which is why he's probably not showing up for OTAs. I ain't tripping. I'm going to do things my way, and y'all will see what's really good. But Chase strikes me as a guy, and I don't know this for a fact. I can't confirm nor deny this, so I don't know how it's going to turn out. He strikes me as a guy that might take it personal. A lot of these young boys take things personal. That's why it was so refreshing to see the way Deron handled it last year. And to hear him say, hey, my agent wanted me to handle it different. And I was like, nah. That was refreshing because most dudes, they don't take it that way. They take it personal. Like John Allen said, it's hard not to take it personal when it's business and you know it, but it's hard because it's your future that they're playing around with. So it's hard not to take it personal. You've done everything they've asked you to do, and now you want to be compensated and they playing hardball. That's tough. But I hope he understands that it's a business. And I think he understands that, but understanding that and extracting all feelings from it is two different things. I can understand and acknowledge that it's a business and still be in my feelings. And I think that's what's ultimately going to happen with Chase is he's going to be in his feelings. He's going to play hardball. I liken it to Brandon Sheriff. I think we pissed Brandon Sheriff off twice. And the first time was when he got injured and he was up for a new contract the first time. And Chris Cooley was adamant. I would have went to him right then and there in his lowest moment and said, hey, we believe in you, and put a deal in front of him and he would have signed it. When you're hurt like that and you don't know what your future is and you ain't made no real bread yet, yeah, I'll take that. Bird in the hand, right? The second time was when Ron got here and he was up for an extension. And he came off a really good season. And he thought he was going to get broken off. And Ron was like, I ain't touching nothing. Ain't nobody getting no new money, nothing. I just got here. I'm just getting to know all of y'all. And Sheriff was like, really? That's how Trent Williams was feeling. Like, really? You're going to treat me like everybody else? I'm Trent mother effing Williams. You going to treat me like everybody else? Word. I'm out. And Sheriff is like, word? You going to treat me like everybody else? Okay. All right. And his agent was like, hey, Brandon, don't trip. Don't even worry about it, man. We're this close to free agency. Any deal they put in front of you, we're not signing it. Brandon was like, bet. And Brandon would always say, yeah, I want to be here. I'm going to let my agent handle it. He never was coming back. And the last straw for him was when they got rid of Morgan Moses, his best friend on the team. Oh, y'all, I'm really out now. I'm really gone. I can see Chase going about it that way. Like, oh, I'm about to show y'all, and I'm about to deuce y'all. Which he doesn't have any control over any of this stuff because they could slap the franchise tag on. Now, he cannot sign a long-term deal and just go off the tag until he becomes a free agent and then leaves. But nobody really wants to do that, especially a dude coming off of a major surgery like Chase had, where you can't take any of this for granted. You can't assume that you're going to be healthy the rest of your career. They put a big-time deal in front of you because you ball out in 2023. You got to take it. I mean, if you betting on yourself, go right ahead. That's a hell of a gamble. That's a hell of a gamble. Knowing what you just went through back in 2021, that's a hell of a gamble. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. But none of that is relevant if he doesn't ball out. You know what I'm saying? You got to ball out first. And I don't know if he got it in him or not. I don't know if he has it in him or not. So I'd put more of my money on Montez having that season. Jack Del Rio seems to think so. Jack didn't say anything about Chase. He said, and I told y'all this on my video the other day when I said, what guy balls out? What guys ball out and end up getting the bag here? If I would put my money, if I were a betting man, I'd put my money on Montez Sweat. Going about it the Deron Payne route. And, you know, Jack Del Rio said, last year, Deron finished. He was always disruptive, which I've always said. Deron's always been a disruptive force. He's always flashed. He finished last year, though. He said, Tez is up. Like, you want to get to the bag? Finish. I don't want to talk about pressures. Oh, Montez Sweat, you know, second in the league in pressures. I don't want to hear that shit. Because you could get a pressure and still give up a 55-yard pass. Remember that pass Ryan Tannehill threw for 60-something yards that set up the game-winning score for them? That was a pressure. But you didn't get the damn sack, and look what happened. I don't want to hear about no damn pressure. Pressure is cool. Sacks are better. Let me get 10 or 11 of those. You can have the pressures. Those are nice if they're impacting the play. But you can't always be certain that a pressure results in an incomplete pass or a pass that is picked off or something positive for the defense. All that means is you got close. And as a wise woman once told me, almost doesn't count. Almost doesn't count. He said, Ted's got to finish this year. I think he will. I think this is the year. We'll see. JP, my guy John Perez, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. John writes, Lou, I'm starting to get annoyed with what Chase is doing, but I understand why he doesn't want to be there. And those dudes in the opening might have the most annoying voices I've ever heard in my life. At the end of the day, everybody's entitled to their own opinions. I've already said that. I've been adamant about that, which is what I always encourage with you guys is if you don't agree with something that I've said, you know, you don't have to go along to get along, right? You have an opposing view and you feel like your voice needs to be heard, please, by all means, make it happen. I don't agree with them. You know, I don't. I think that is the viewpoint of a company man. You know, the boss gives you, and you know, you can say what you want. Chase ain't going to be like, you know, I know what he was doing. He was saying this stuff for effect. Chase isn't about to be out on the street. He ain't working some 9-to-5 job. You know, like Yeah, you got your little cubicle, your little office desk job. Yeah, that dude might be living paycheck to paycheck. Chase Young ain't living paycheck to paycheck. But I don't want to bury the lead. He's essentially saying, look, bro, you've been doing it your way this entire time and it hasn't worked. You're coming off of a season that was pretty much lost to injury because you didn't want to play football because you didn't think mentally you were ready, right? And then the year before that, before you got hurt, you only had a sack and a half. It's not like you were tearing shit up then either. And so it's not like you played in 2 or 3 games like, Nick Bosa did. You played in like 10 games that year before you got injured. And you only had a sack and a half. So it was either 8, 9, or 10 games you had played in. I think we were 2-6 when we played the Bucs. So you played in 8 games that year. So at the end of the day, try something different. Try something different. Try being engaged with the team all throughout the offseason. Try being around. That's fine. I don't necessarily subscribe to that, but at the end of the day, Chase, look, professional athletes are put under a microscope. The higher you're drafted, the more money you're making, the hotter the microscope gets, the closer we put the magnifying glass to you, right? That comes with the territory. If you can't handle it, then you're in the wrong profession. Don't take the money, right? The minute you sign your name to that contract on the dotted line, this is what you signed up for. Scrutiny, criticism, people probing into your personal life. How many times have you heard fans say, he shouldn't be out doing this. He should be working on getting better. As if these guys are robots and they don't have personal lives. Chase has probably got, I can't say he's got thick skin because I told you the comments he made last year about football not defining him seemed real defensive to me. Somebody that has thin skin. That's what that felt like to me. You were essentially trying to dismiss needing football. Like, I don't need this. I'm going to be Chase Young regardless. That's cool. Like, nobody was ever doubting that, bro. You don't got to come at us like that. Understand, though, when you signed your name on the dotted line, when Washington turned your name in on that card to be the number 2 overall pick, it came with all of this. And if you couldn't handle this, then you weren't what we thought you were. When everybody was crowning you and calling you the predator and this, that, and the third. So I'm not here to defend Chase. That's not what I'm looking to do. I'm here to defend his decision. All right. He's entitled to do whatever the hell he wants to do because it's voluntary. Okay. It's voluntary. So he's able to do what he wants to do. He doesn't have to be there. Should he be there? We can debate that back and forth till the cows come home. But he doesn't have to be there. So he's not. What's important is, what does he do when the games start? Because at this point, I'm not even concerned with what he does in the preseason because he already tricked me like that before. Back in 2021 in the first preseason game against the Patriots, sacking Cam Newton with a move that I've never seen him do before or since. So I'm not falling for the banana in the tailpipe this year. Until it actually counts in September, I don't really give a damn what he does. He could have 15 sacks in the preseason. It'll never happen. He's not going to play enough snaps to have 15 sacks, but you get where I'm going with this. He could play a full quarter and have 3 sacks in the preseason, and I'm still going to be like, all right, show me that shit in the regular season, man. Try that shit on the train. All right? So, anyway, I digress. And attacking their voice, that's not going to solve anything. That all that means is that you're salty. You can't attack what they're saying, so you attack elements. So, like, that's not how I operate. All right. Derek B, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Derek B, writes, been down on 99 since 2021 week 3. Facts. We've gone back and forth, as a matter of fact. He says 99 at OTAs died without 5th-year option. All right. He says Ron chose not to invest in him. No guaranteed money. Made no-show OTAs and many. I don't blame him. That's why I told you at the beginning of the show, had they picked up the 5th-year option, I would have been a little bit more passionate about him not showing up. I've invested in you. I've shown you that I truly believe in you, despite you having not produced next to anything the last 2 years. Me picking up the 5th-year option shows that I believe in you no matter what, and I need you to pay it forward by showing up. I need you to repay me by showing up and being that leader that you claim that you are. Not picking up the 5th-year option to me just gave him the space that he needed to say, all right, well, I'm going to do my own thing off on the side over here, and I'll see y'all when I have to be there. And again, I don't have a problem with that. And, the people that do have a problem with that, that's cool. Again, everybody's entitled to their opinion. My thing is, you can't be upset that I don't care. Like, that's the thing that kills me in this debate, is the people that swear up and down, if you are okay with this, then you don't get it. Why don't I get it? I totally understand both sides of the argument, and I don't care. What's so hard about that to understand? I don't care. So I agree with you, Derek B. Once they didn't pick up the 5th-year option, any chance of him showing up to these mandatories or to these voluntaries was dead on arrival. Dead, I tell you. And you know what? If they would have picked it up, he still probably wouldn't have showed up. Knowing Chase, he still probably did his own damn thing. But they made it a lot less likely he was going to show up. That's for sure. John Perez, my guy, JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy, JP, writes, nobody in this regime not named Eric Bieniemy will even be there next year. So Ron's words are pretty much irrelevant trash at this point. I mean, I can't say that with 100% certainty. And I've already made it abundantly clear that the likelihood that EB succeeds and is here next year and Ron doesn't is slim and none. Because what a lot of you are assuming is that the new ownership group is going to come in here and they're going to absolutely fall in love with Eric Bieniemy and they're going to keep him and get rid of Ron. That's not how these things work. Yeah, right. The first thing that the new ownership group is going to do if they're going to fire Ron is they're going to fire everybody, including Eric Bieniemy. That's the most likely scenario. That's option A. Option B is, okay, I'm not going to fire everybody. I am going to fire said GM, said head coach, leave everybody else intact, let new GM come in, decide what he wants to do, let new GM pick head coach, which is the first thing that GM's going to want to do. New GM picks new coach then comes in and says, hey, I need my staff. The likelihood that new GM comes in and says, I want Eric Bieniemy, when he's already been on 15, 16, 17 different interviews. The likelihood that the new GM comes in and decides that Bieniemy needs to stay here, again, not impossible, not 0% chance, but it's like 5% chance that GM comes in and says, yeah, Bieniemy, you stay. Everybody else, you can go. The likelihood is new ownership group comes in, flushes the entire thing, starts at the top with the new GM. That GM hires head coach. That head coach fills out his staff, and we go from there. And the thing that scares me about that scenario, not that I'm, again, resisting change, because I've already been on record as saying Ron has probably done as much as he could do for us in the capacity that we were in last year. With Eric Bieniemy, there's another level we can tap into, because now there's another guy there with enough power and influence that can take Ron for what he's good at, remove him from the things he's not, and allow somebody else to pick Ron up where he's weak. And that's where Bieniemy may be able to step in and save us, right? Maybe he can, maybe he can't. We'll see. Maybe Bieniemy is smart enough to say, hey, Ron, you need to challenge that. Maybe Bieniemy's like, no, Ron. Don't take your time out right now. Wait, we good. No. Take the time out. You know, before the 2-minute warning, Ron. And then not have Ron tell us after the game, well, the analytics people said that we shouldn't take the time out until the other side of the 2-minute warning. No, Ron, that's not how it works. So maybe EB will do that, do those things. Maybe he won't. But at the end of the day, if Eric Bieniemy wants to be here next year, he needs to pretty much make sure that Ron's here next year. It's kind of how this works. Because a lot of you think that they're somehow going to fire Ron and keep Eric around. The only way that happens, and again, you'd be pretty hard pressed to have a scenario in which Ron starts the season off 0-5 like Gruden did back in 19 and gets canned, and Bieniemy takes over and the team goes, 8-4 in the final 12 games. They still missed the playoffs at 8-9, but you go, shit, that's a hell of a turnaround. You were a totally different team under Eric Bieniemy. Let's see what he's about. How many interim coaches have we seen have success? Steve Wilkes had it in Carolina last year. Did they keep his black ass? No, they fired him and went and hired Frank Wright. We saw what happened with the Raiders. You couldn't have a more dysfunctional situation than they had when John Gruden ended up resigning in season. Henry Ruggs, vehicular manslaughter. They had to cut a first-round pick because he was throwing up gang signs and threatening people with guns on social media. It was a train wreck of a season. And Rich Bisaccia came in there, shined that bitch up, and took them to the playoffs and had them within 8 yards of sending the Cincinnati Bengals to overtime. And he still didn't keep his job. Mike Mayock got fired, Rich Bisaccia got fired, and they brought in all new staff and personnel. New GM, new coach. None of that shit matters. So for those of you who think, oh, yeah, they're going to get Ron out of here, but Eric, he can stay. Good luck with that. It's not impossible, but there ain't many instances where new ownership group comes in or a new GM comes in and a assistant coach is allowed to stay. It's very rare. But we'll see what happens. Twin D, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Twin D, double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, you've often said that if a defensive back could catch, he would have had a turnover. With Efo, Quan, and Defo, and Fuller, I can see an aggressive D that establishes our new identity. I see turnovers becoming infectious. That's how it starts. Somebody's got to make the change, right? Somebody's got to say, all right, man, this is how it's going to go down. We're going to start taking this bitch away. And once somebody steps up and does that, like you said, it becomes infectious. Because I want one. I want to make a play too. If you've ever played sports, baseball is the best analogy I have for you because I was a baseball guy growing up. And you're playing a garbage team. We had several of them in our division growing up in high school in particular. And you already knew going into the game, hey, this is a great opportunity. If you're in a slump, this is one of those slump busters right here. This is the type of team where, hey, 4 for 5, 2 doubles, a triple, and 4 RBI. This is the kind of game it's set up for you. You can't take advantage of these scrubs. I can't help you, right? You can't get your shit off this week. I can't help you, man, right? And what happens in baseball is called a rally, right? Start a rally. One dude gets a hit, and another guy gets a hit. Then the next guy draws a walk. And all of a sudden, it's infectious. Everybody's like, yo, I want mine. You know, he got a double. He got an RBI double. I want mine. Oh, shit, he just had a bases clearing triple. I need mine. I need my hit. You don't want to be the one to stop the rally with a strikeout or a ground out. So you going up there and you trying to get yours. That's what it feels like when you've got the momentum and guys are making plays. You want to make a play. So we saw it with Defoe last year. He was the guy that was kind of the igniter. He was the lightning rod for the defense in terms of turnovers last year. You know, that's what we want Cam Curl to be. You know, Defoe had the game sealing pick against Jacksonville. We've already said we don't win the Jacksonville game without him. He had the pass break up in the back of the end zone that would have been a touchdown if he wasn't there. Great play. You know, he was the one that forced the fumble on Travis Etienne in the flats that knocked the ball back like 7 yards. They ultimately missed the field goal. And had that field goal been 4 yards closer, it's good. 3 yards closer, it was good. Those 7 yards made a difference. Missed the kick. Then he had the game clinching pick, right? He was outstanding in that game. The Colts game, we don't win that game without turnovers in the red zone. Remember, the Colts were so negligent. Ellinger had the fumble when nobody even really touched him. But it was the Jonathan Taylor fumble where Defoe put his helmet on his arm and forced the ball out and we recovered. That was a big play. He was around the ball. He made things happen. The Eagles game, the pick off of Jalen Hurts. Hurts didn't throw many picks last year. And I told you the first time we played them, boy, we could have had about 4 picks if we could catch. If guys were looking for the ball, if they were aware, if they could catch, there were opportunities there. We just didn't seize them. Well, Defoe got it the second time around. And we need more guys like that. Fuller got involved. I'm hoping this year we start early, we start fast, and we're just one of those teams that just finds ways to create turnovers. Because I really feel like this offense is going to be dynamic. And if you keep getting them the football back, there'll be some blowouts this year. Aren't you tired of eking by? Fourth quarter, heart's in your throat. I had to pull out the defibrillator for a few of y'all last year several times. Several times. The Jacksonville game, the Indy game, the Titans game. I had to bring some of y'all back to life for the post-game show. Aren't y'all tired of that? The Falcons game. Y'all were, some of y'all were flatlining. I had to clear, boom, bring you back for the post-game show. Don't you want to kick somebody's ass and just be like, damn, this is what it feels like to be a gangster. Don't you want to just kick your feet back, fourth quarter, game well in hand? You paying attention to another game because our shit is already spoken for. Force some turnovers, and we may be able to actually do that next year or this upcoming season. I hope you're right. I hope turnovers become the norm. We have a new identity, and it's one of forcing turnovers. That'd be nice. But in typical Washington Commanders fan fashion, I need to see it to believe it. I gotta. I'm not as confident in that as I am, say, a Sam Howell. So I got to see it. I'm confident in Sam's ability. I need to see what Quan Martin is talking about. I need to see what Emmanuel Forbes is talking about. I want to see if these boys actually can come in here and confuse some teams, deflect some footballs, get them up in the air, pick them off. I need to see it in action because, you know, in the back of my mind, I already told y'all how I feel about this defense. I'm nervous. I'm anxious about this defense. You know, Julie Donaldson started off by saying this defense has been top 3 two of the last 3 years. But we all know we ain't watched no damn top 3 defense, man. We all know the truth. So I got to see it, man. I got to see it. Christopher McLaughlin, my guy Chris, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Chris writes, hey, Lou, happy anniversary to you and your wife. Thank you so much, Chris. I greatly appreciate that. And, you know, well wishes to you and yours, man, as always. Hope all is well with the family. Likewise. What is the one under the radar offensive and defensive player that needs to raise their game this year for the team to make the playoffs? On offense, I'm not going to single out a player. Obviously, Sam has to play well, but I'm going to single out an entire unit. The offensive line has to play better. Nothing exists without them. If you force me to single out a player, I'd say Charles Leno has to be better than he was last year. You can't be giving up game-changing sacks. The Detroit game, the Giants game, he gave up some big sacks last year. You know, I'm trying to think. I don't think the first Giants game sack, first forced fumble was on him. The second one's definitely on him. And the Lions game was definitely on him, even though I think Wentz might have got a little bit too deep in his drop. And that was a bad play call by Scott Turner, down deep in your own end zone. You're dropping a 7-step drop and trying to protect. That's stupid, you know. But anyway, that's nor here nor there. Protect anyway. If I had to single out a guy, it'd be him. But I'm singling out the entire offensive line. They got to be better. Collectively, cohesively, as a unit, they've got to get the job done. We can talk about all this talent that we feel like we have. That shit does not matter if we're giving up 8 sacks to the Philadelphia Eagles. Doesn't matter. If we're scared shitless and can't even call plays because we're scared that Dallas is going to have 8 sacks the following week. You can't live like that. You got to protect up front. Defensively, I will put the onus on a position again. I won't just single out a single defender, although I'd love to see Jamin Davis step up because I feel like that's the one position on the defense that we're just not getting enough out of. But it's the entire linebacker group. Cody Barton, Jamin Davis, they're the only two that are really going to play. If they're healthy, those are going to be the two guys getting the bulk of the snaps. We need them to play at a higher level. That's the part of the defense that's kind of leaving us out to dry, so to speak. If there's meat left on the bone, it's because of the linebackers not playing downhill, not attacking gaps. We got 4 dominant guys up front potentially. Say what you want about Chase and Montez. They're dominant in the run game. Dominant. Okay. No one's ever questioned that. You talk about Chase Young not getting to the quarterback. Montez almost got there. They don't miss in the run game. They set physical edges. They get tackles for loss. They play on the opposite side of the line of scrimmage. They funnel runs back inside. They do their job. So linebackers should be eating in this defense. No excuses. No equivocations. So I won't single out individual players necessarily. I will single out position groups. On offense, the offensive line has to be better. On defense, the linebackers need to be better. If I'll take it a step further, though, I'll give you a bonus. Joey Sly needs to do his goddamn job this year at a much higher clip. And he wasn't terrible last year, but boy, he missed some kicks, didn't he? And every time he missed, Joey looked as surprised as we did at home. Joey would miss, and he would just stare like the goalpost folded in, and his shit just barely missed, and the goalpost folded in. And he's like, how could you do that? No, Joey, you missed, bro. You kicked that shit. The wind didn't just blow, and your shit just happened to just carry him outside of the post. You kicked that bitch and missed. And Joey would be just perplexed. Like, I hit that one good. I'm going to need you to make these goddamn kicks, Joey. Can't be missing extra points. Can't be he missed a chip shot field goal against Dallas in week 18. We conveniently glossed over that shit because we dominated they stinking ass. But if that was a close game, we would have looked back like, Joey, you can't be missing no chip shot field goal. What the hell is wrong with you, bro? That's the guy that's got to be better in 2023. But anyway, we'll see what happens. Thank you for the super chat, Chris. King of the North, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, King of the North, writes, Cole Turner going to win his second consecutive Terrell Pryor Award if he doesn't perform on game day this year. Remember Terrell Pryor? No shirt on, catching balls all greased up and oiled up, paws, right? With one hand showing off in camp. And we were like, oh, shit, Terrell Pryor in the building. About to be mossing on cats. And then Terrell Pryor looked like Hercules, or looked like Tarzan, rather, played like Jay. I'm not putting Cole Turner in that conversation. He's done nothing to deserve that kind of vitriol from me. He's a 5th-round pick. Most 5th-rounders don't perform at a high level in this league. All right. Which is why nobody is respecting Sam Howell. He's a 5th-round pick. Well, I've already gone through the exercise of he's not really a 5th-round pick. Cole Turner's a 5th-round pick. He was there for a reason. So I just got to see it from Cole. I know he's talented enough to produce, but I'm not going to, trash him if it's another season where he's not able to be on the field due to, extenuating circumstances, or, the ball isn't finding him, or he's just not getting reps because they don't trust him. Whatever the case may be, I'm not going to be hard on him. He's a 5th-round pick, Day 1 and day 2 picks, I'm all over those dudes. Those are heavy investments. Day 3 guys, you get what you get. And, if they exceed expectations as a day 3 pick, you roll with that. But at the end of the day, I'd like to see him step up this year. But that may not be the case. And I'm prepared for it either way. The guy that I'm putting pressure on at tight end is Logan Thomas. I would love for Cole Turner to step up, but he's not TE1. That designation goes to the veteran leader with the C on his chest in Logan Thomas. Last year, we had to hear about how he wasn't healthy until week 10 against the Eagles, when he started to really feel like himself. And then, and this was a valid point, Scott Turner just didn't use the tight ends, specifically in the red zone, for whatever reason. Now, he's supposed to be fully healthy. He's a leader on this team. We need production from the tight end position. I'm looking at Logan Thomas and I'm saying, bro, I need you to step up. And not just as a pass catcher, I need you to step up in the run game because you weren't great there either. And I know you can be a little bit better than what you were last year. So I'm looking for Logan Thomas to be the guy to step up. And I'm hoping that under the radar sneaks Cole Turner and he's able to hurt you, So we'll see. Mr. Pink, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Well, actually, this is a triple up from Mr. Pink. Appreciate you. Who writes, Lou, happy anniversary. Celebrate. Get your practice. Oh, there will be a lot of practicing going on. Don't you worry. I may have a story to tell after this weekend. So stay tuned for that. I'm pretty sure I will. If this goes the way that I think it's going to go, I'll have a story to tell. But you guys, stay tuned for that. Thank you, Mr. Pink. Truly appreciate that. Christopher McLaughlin, my guy Chris, double up, thank you for doubling up. Chris, who writes, hey, Lou, non-day-to-day question about the team. What is it going to take to get the team to get Brian Mitchell in the NFL Hall of Fame in the near future? That's a tough one because the further and further away he gets from the last time he played in the NFL, the less and less likely it is he gets in, because you got to understand who's voting on this. These are writers and, people that a lot of these guys are younger now. It's not, you're ushering out the old hags and the people who actually remember Brian Mitchell. Most of these people voting are more so aware of what Devin Hester brought to the game than Brian Mitchell. Devin Hester got in. I think he's already in, right? Like that. Let me check and see. Pretty sure Devin Hester is already in. If he's not, he's going to get in very quickly. But let me just check and see. Is Devin Hester in the Hall of Fame? Not in the 2023 Pro Football Hall of Fame. He'll get in, right? He's more likely to get in before B. Mitch, and that's criminal. When B. Mitch retired, I think he was number 2 all-time in all-purpose yards in NFL history, only behind, I think, Jerry Rice, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know where he is on that list now. He still may be number 2. I can't see any way, shape, or form that he's not still in the top 5 of that list. And he was one of the most dynamic return men in history when he hung it up. Like, I don't understand how this is even a debate, but I don't know. It's the same thing that we've been saying about Joe Jacoby. Jake should have been in the Hall of Fame. What are we talking about? When you think of the Hogs, Joe Jacoby was the most significant of that group. He was the most dominant. I don't understand how other guys have gotten in, not to take anything away from Russ Grimm. Joe Jacoby was every bit as good, if not better, than Russ Grimm. I don't understand how Jake is not in the Hall of Fame. But the further and further you get away from people that actually watched Joe Jacoby play, the less likely it is he's going to get in. The same thing with Brian Mitchell. It's a shame. Red Wing 01. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, praying for a full recovery for Armani. Achilles are always brutal. They are. They're way worse than torn ACLs. Do you think he'll get back to 100%? Silver lining is Turner and Hodges get to show. And that's kind of my message at the top of the show is, look, it sucks for Armani Rogers. I'm really disappointed because I was really excited and looking forward to seeing him get an opportunity. But it's the next man up, and they're excited about Curtis Hodges. We've heard so much about Cole Turner. Now they're going to get an opportunity. Turner was going to get an opportunity regardless. Hodges was more likely than not the odd man out. If everything stayed status quo, they had 4 guys, and Hodges was going to be on the outside looking in. More likely than not. Now Hodges is going to get a real look. This is the opportunity that he wasn't looking for anybody to get hurt, but this was the opportunity he probably was looking for. Similar to Armani Rogers last year. Rogers wasn't looking for people to get hurt, but the opportunity came knocking and he was ready. Same thing could be said now for, Curtis Hodges. Here's the opportunity. What you going to do with it? It's tough to say if a guy will be back at 100%. I think he'll be back at some point, but will it be next year? Remember, this is an undrafted tight end we're talking about. And one thing we've learned about the NFL, it waits for no man. And if he comes back next year, and this is the thing, because it happened so soon, a full recovery from an ACL, from a Achilles is at a bare minimum 9 months. For some, it takes a full year. The thing about an Achilles, unlike an ACL, is usually you're not yourself until the following season. So we'll see. Dudes come back from ACLs the next year, and we saw Adrian Peterson literally rush for 2,000 yards the year after tearing his ACL. All right. I think that was 2013 where he rushed for, or I think he tore his ACL in 2011 and came back and rushed for 2,000 yards in 2012, if I'm not mistaken. I think that's how that went. I could have my years mixed up, but whatever the case may be, we've seen Herculean efforts from guys coming off at ACLs. it's rare that a dude comes back from an Achilles in the next year is tearing shit up. That's probably not the right usage of words, but you get my drift. I'm praying for him to come back and have an opportunity, you know? So we'll see what happens. Donald Gray, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Donald writes, now that Snyder is out, are you going to go to a game? No, I have no desire to go to a game. I've made it abundantly clear. I do have a promise to keep, and I will abide by that promise to the members of the Cherry Squad. I told you I would be in the Discord. I'm going to get in there. I'm going to make it my mission sometime in the month of June to chop it up with y'all in there. And maybe I'll find that it's really, really fun in there and I want to be in there all the time. But I'm definitely going to peek my head in there. But I have no desire to go to a game. My buddy asked me, was I going to a game? I'm like, nah, I'm good. I got no desire to be at FedEx Field. I've been there plenty of times. It's a dump. You know, maybe if we go to the playoffs and you know, we're playing in a big game, maybe. But even then, I doubt it. The minute we get a new stadium, and we're talking a decade from now, right? Like that's no time zone, right? But the minute that puppy is up, I'm there, right? The likelihood is if this thing turns around and we're good, I'm probably there sooner than that. But right now, I got zero desire to be in person at FedEx Field. And they said they're going to make some changes and they're going to spend some money on FedEx Field. So we'll see what happens. Gary B, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB, who writes, Ron was what we needed when we needed it. Steered this team through turmoil. Guys disciplined and have fight. He convinced EB to give Wash to fly. Appreciate it. And again, that's all I've been trying to communicate to you guys about Ron. Look, I'm not telling you Ron is this dynamic coach. What I'm telling you is, and I said this on Tim's show, and I don't feel like regurgitating it because it was a lot, but I've said this in so many words to you guys over the course of time Ron's been here, especially over the last year, because I've done the 180 on Ron. You know, it was Ron's plan. Last year, I saw enough of Ron, the in-game coach, Ron, the disheveled coach after a loss. You know, I really felt like he allowed himself to be too loyal to Carson Wentz because he wanted to prove people wrong. You can never be working from a position and when you're a coach of looking to prove people wrong in the face of the decision that you made being the wrong decision. You can never try and force that. And I thought he could see that this wasn't the right decision. We made a mistake. And after the whole tirade about I watched the film, I was there in Indy, this was my decision, not Dan's, not anybody else's. After that whole tirade, he doubled down. Like, okay, I'm going to prove y'all asses wrong. And at that point, that's when he pretty much sealed his fate with me, because he should have never been in that game in the second half. I get it. 20 play drive, you know, the touchdown. We should have never even been after the second pick, which happened, I believe, in the second quarter, early in the second. He should have been benched. But that's nor here nor there. Ron did what he was supposed to do. And I appreciate him. I thank him for his service. So if he does nothing else, if this season goes off the rails and he gets fired, I won't feel any different about Ron. A lot of y'all will be screaming from the rooftops, he's trash, get him the hell out of here, yada, yada. I won't. Because Ron did what he was supposed to do. I'd be disappointed that it didn't work. But he did what he was supposed to do. Thank you, Gary B, for that super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Derek B, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, what if the sale forced Ron into no big money quarterback or draft? I mean, that's possible. That's plausible. I don't think ownership, altered the draft whatsoever. I don't think that had anything to do with the draft. But it could have affected a strategy in the offseason about the money that they were going to be able to spend. Absolutely. That definitely could have played it. We'll never know, until 15 years down the road if Ron decides to talk about it or write a book or something. We'll never know what they would have ultimately have done had they had the resources. He might have decided to go after Aaron Rodgers for all we know. Rodgers would have had to say so. He could have said, nah, I'm good. I don't want to play for Washington, But at some point, don't you get tired of people telling you, I don't want to play for your organization, and embarrassing yourself? I would think after a while of campaigning around the league in the offseason and having everybody shit on you, you'd say, you know what? To hell with everybody else. We drafted a kid. We really like him. He showed us some things last year. Let's just roll with him. What do we got to lose? If he's not good, we're getting fired anyway. So what difference does it make? You know what I've been waiting to say this for a while, because this is why Sam makes sense. If you're Ron Rivera and you're looking to save your job, are you going to go out and get a quarterback that may be here for a year or 2, 3 at max, like a Tom Brady, for instance? I mean, it's great if you win a Super Bowl, but Brady's going to eventually go. Rodgers is eventually going to go. Derek Carr, I don't think that would have been enough of an upgrade, but you get my drift, right? Like, that guy is eventually going to retire at some point. He can't play forever. And then what? The coaches that have success in this league are the ones that find a young quarterback, marry themselves to that young quarterback, and are able to ride the coattails of that quarterback for many years to come. If Ron's right about Sam Howell, he's the only guy that can save his job at this point. Jacoby Brissett can't save his job. Jacoby Brissett could have the season of his life. He can't duplicate that again. He's not going to save Ron's job past 1 year. But if Sam's good, Sam has the ability to save Ron's job, not just this year, but the year after that. And if Sam's really good, Sam single-handedly can take Ron Rivera and make him a good NFL head coach. I don't know if you guys understand that logic, but that's essentially what Ron's banking on. That's what he's hoping. That Sam Howell is my Drew Brees to Sean Payton. That Sam Howell is Ben Roethlisberger to Mike Tomlin. That Sam Howell is Cam Newton to Ron Rivera. And even Cam didn't, lead Ron to 6 playoff seasons in 7 or 8 years. Ron's hoping that Sam Howell is what Russell Wilson was to Pete Carroll. Pete Carroll would have gotten fired if Matt Flynn was his quarterback, who they went out and signed in free agent. He would have gotten fired. Tavares Jackson, Matt Flynn, he would eventually have gotten fired. We wouldn't be talking about Pete Carroll as this, transcendent coach, the oldest coach in the league, but still looking like one of the youngest coaches in terms of his spunk and enthusiasm and zest for the game. We wouldn't be talking about none of that shit. if it weren't for Russell Wilson. It may not work out, but Ron is like, this is my only shot. Couldn't draft a quarterback this year. That's not going that rookie's not coming in here and setting the NFL world ablaze. I'm getting fired if I go out and draft a rookie. Just go ask Ryan Pace and Matt Nagy. How'd that work out with Justin Fields? You ain't drafting a rookie quarterback and having that guy come in and set the league ablaze. Good luck with that. So drafting a rookie wasn't going to save his job at all. Could the veteran have saved his job? Maybe. But honestly speaking, his best shot is the guy that he's given the keys to right now. We'll see how it goes. Donald Gray, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. My guy, Donald Gray, writes, got my tickets for week 1. Let Sam cook. Good one. So you got that one, huh? Week 1 should be fun. I'd imagine that the team sale would have fully gone through by then. And I think it was Lake Lewis who had a tweet that said the Arizona Cardinals may be walking into the Lions' den. Like, they may be walking into an absolute madhouse in week 1. And they have no idea why. That could be the most intense FedEx Field has been since 2012. Not even 2015 produced the levels of, sheer insanity that 2012 provided this fan base. Week 1, which is a meaningless game against the Arizona Cardinals, it's not meaningless in terms of win or loss, but it might be the worst game of week 1. Washington versus Arizona. It might be the worst game of week 1. And yet our fans may show up in droves and that place may be rocking. So you're not alone. There are a lot of people who already have tickets for that week 1 game. So we'll see what happens. B-Hat, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. B-Hat writes, what's up, Lou? What's going on, B-Hat? How would you feel about us being on Hard Knocks this year if we are one of the 4 teams that are picked? Do you think it would be a good thing for the team? I personally would love it. I don't think I'm passionate one way or the other. I remember I used to be vehemently against Hard Knocks. Vehemently against it. It's a distraction. We don't need it. Yada, yada, yada. At this point now, I'm open to whatever. Ron's been through these types of things before. I told you he did the all or nothing with Amazon, once upon a time. That was in season. That wasn't, prior to the season. That's as, invasive as it gets in season, and Ron handled it beautifully. So Ron wouldn't, I don't think it would be a problem for him. And I don't think I would mind at this point. But again, the Jets are one of the teams that can't say no if they're chosen. Why would you choose Washington over Aaron Rodgers? It's just more theater in New York. To me, it's a no-brainer to go into the Jets. But if they thought that, new ownership group coming in, Sam Howell, maybe they'll try to bill it as a quarterback battle, because they like to, do those types of things. Maybe they come to Washington. I doubt it. I wouldn't mind, though. I wouldn't mind at all. Twin D, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, Twin D, writes, off topic. I'm taking all bets. Spence stops Bud on July 29th. Book it. Oh, I take that bet. Ain't no way Bud getting stopped by Errol Spence Jr. Ain't no way. He may not win the fight, but he ain't getting stopped by him. I'd take that bet. You probably shouldn't bet me. You already owe me as is. So we're going to have to disagree on that one because I don't see that one coming. Rob, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, any scenario where they move Wiley inside the guard now. So I don't know if you heard Ron today, but Ron pretty much told you what the lineup is on the offensive line. So he said Wiley's at tackle. Sam Cosmi's getting the first shot at right guard, which we already knew this, right? None of this is a surprise to us. And Sadiq Charles is getting the first crack at left guard. Everything else, is what we thought it was. Nick Gates at center, Charles Leno Jr. at left tackle. So we know what the 5 guys that they're going to go into camp with are. It's just a matter of, do they end up shuffling the deck at some point? Are they dissatisfied with Sadiq, or this, Cosmi have another unfortunate situation and somebody else has to step in for him? Like, can we just stay healthy and see who's the best 5 and put those guys on the field? We'll see. But Wiley's playing tackle. He's going to play tackle. He may not finish his career in Washington as the tackle. He may kick inside the guard at some point. But right now, he's the tackle. Irish, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Irish writes, Lou, Irish, you may not operate like that, but I do. F the junkies. Also, some fans going to be real mad when Sam balls out and Ron gets an extension. LOL. A lot of fans would be mad at that. And, again, I struggle with that whole concept of wanting to be right so bad that it comes at the detriment of the team. But this wouldn't be, exactly apples to apples in terms of a comparison, because of the fact that Ron has so much influence and power, over the team and the direction. And it's going to be so hard to get on board with Ron, even if we win this year, because so much of the credit will be given to Eric Bieniemy. And if EB is gone after the year, let's say that this offense, who was, 31st in the league last year, is 13th in the NFL and 9th in scoring offense, I find it really hard to believe that Eric Bieniemy isn't a head coach next year. And he's not like the offensive coordinator in Detroit who turned down interviews to become a head coach, even though I would have done the same thing, because to me, this cycle, there weren't many jobs that were enticing. If I were Sean Payton, I probably would have said, yeah, I'm going to keep this little cozy, desk job I got at Fox one more year and wait to see what openings come available next year, because these really ain't hitting on nothing. I don't want the Indy job. I don't want the Carolina job. I'm going to pass. The Denver job is a hard pass for me. I don't want the Arizona job. Like, these were some trash-ass jobs, for real, if we keeping it a buck. And so he was allowed to be like, yeah, I'm going to just hang tight in Detroit. I'm good. EB ain't doing that shit. It could be the worst job. It could be the worst perceived job in the NFL. It could be the Texans' job for the 5th straight year. EB's like, yeah, let me get that. So it's going to be hard to it. It's almost going to be like the reverse of what EB just faced. EB was the offensive coordinator the last 5 years and gets zero credit for his contributions to their success. All of it was given to Andy Reid. It'd be the absolute opposite here. If we won and won big here, let's say we won and ended up in the NFC Championship game and lost, right? All of that credit is going to EB, especially if it's offensive, Fireworks. I mean, I know this fan base way too well. I know exactly what you're going to do. You're going to go all the way back to 2016. In the offseason of 16 going into 17. And you're going to say, remember the time that Jay Gruden was coming off of 2 back-to-back, or back-to-back rather, winning seasons, something we hadn't done since 91, 92. And we let this young upstart offensive coordinator named Sean McVay walk and kept Jay. Yeah, don't want to do that again. Hey, get rid of Ron and keep EB. That's what everybody's going to be saying. Half of y'all are saying that shit now. Half of y'all are like, yo, get rid of Ron's ass. And you don't even know if EB's any good and you ready to get rid of Ron and give EB a shot. And I'm not mad at that because we already know what Ron is. You know what Ron is. So you're like, even if EB isn't good, we already know Ron ain't, so it don't matter. But what if EB stinks? You know what I'm saying? What if EB's terrible? We're all excited about this demanding and demonstrative way he handles things. That shit gets old, right? That shit gets old, right? You know why Jim Harbaugh never stays anywhere past, 5 or 6 years? And, he almost left Michigan. He took the temperature of the NFL. And I think eventually the NFL is going to come calling and he's not going to be able to resist. You know why he doesn't stay anywhere? Because college is perfect for him. Guys with his type of personality that wears on people, the NFL is where you need. I mean, the college ranks are where you need because you're turning over that roster every 4 years. So, that message doesn't get stale. You're not wearing on guys over and over again. You get to ship them out to the next level and bring a new batch of guys in that you can ride like hell, and the message doesn't get stale. With guys like Jim Harbaugh, it's hard for you to be the coach because it's just hard for a guy to be a hard ass all the time. Guys don't respond to that, especially if you're not winning. It's one thing to deal with it because you're winning like the Patriots with Bill Belichick. Yeah, he's a dick, but we got Tom Brady and we winning chips, so I'll deal with it. It's the same thing that happened in Detroit with Matt Patricia. They was like, so let me get this straight. You want to be a dick. You want us to follow you. We're practicing hard. We beating the shit out of each other Monday through, Saturday. We get to Sunday. We have nothing left because we've been beating the hell out of each other all week. And you want us to keep doing this, but we 1-6? Because you say so? Get the hell out of my face, man. So, that shit gets old if you ain't winning. You winning, hey, dudes will be like, yo, it's tough, but it's worth it. We'll see. I said all of that to say this. If we're successful this season, a lot of that credit, if not all of it, will go to EB. Unfortunately for Ron, he won't get any of the credit. More likely than not. So it'll be interesting because the fan base, they've had it with Ron. They're over Ron. If we did a poll right now, 80% of the fan base would be like, get Ron's ass out of here right now. So there's not much. I mean, I was talking to Tim last. Tim said he could win the Super Bowl. I still want him gone. I'm like, God damn. Damn, Tim. He wins the Super Bowl and you still want him going? Sheesh. I'm not that heartless. Chauncey Davis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy Chauncey Davis, OG triple OG, writes, did Diami lose confidence and will Sam help him? I don't think he's lost any confidence. And Sam being the starter, I think definitely helps him confidence-wise, if nothing else. I don't know if he lost confidence. Diami made some big plays last year. Y'all not understanding what I'm trying to tell y'all, man. Look, Diami may not have had a ton of opportunities. The numbers weren't gaudy. But we all saw the Tennessee game. He showed his ass in that game. Showed his entire behind in that game. Okay. We scored 2 touchdowns. They were both Diami Brown touchdowns. Okay. 3 catches, I think, for 105 yards. 2 for 105 or 3 for 105, something like that. I keep talking about that one-handed catch against the Falcons on the first possession of the game in the rain. That's a massive catch. We don't score. The Falcons went down the field and kicked the field goal. We needed to respond. We don't score there. I don't think we win the game. That led to the Brian Robinson catching the flats, run over the defender into the end zone. Touchdown, we up. And from that point on, we played with confidence. Even though we never ran away and hid with the game, we played with confidence. That was all because of that Bieniemy Brown catch on third down. The Eagles game, right before halftime, this is a big catch. I keep talking about it because it's a big effing catch. We're driving for points right before the half. Bieniemy this is not a good ball. Bieniemy goes and digs this thing. He is wide open up the seam. And Heineke pulls the string on it. And that shit's going to hit the ground, and Bieniemy goes down and digs that bitch out. That's the difference between Joey Sly having a chance to attempt a 55 or whatever yarder it was, 56, and bang that bitch home, and us not getting anything before the half. Do you know how momentous that field goal was? That shit changed everything about how we felt going into halftime. Their head coach slammed down his headset. Heineke pumped his fist. Everybody went into the locker room thinking, hey, we about to beat these boys in their building, knock their undefeated season from underneath them, and damn, we playing good football. Remember, before that Vikings loss the week prior, we had won 3 in a row. We were playing really good football. And that catch was huge in that game. So Bieniemy, I thought, when he got opportunities last year, Bieniemy played well. I don't think he's lacking for confidence. I think he's searching for more opportunities. And he may get that in this offense. And I think he's still playing with a chip on his shoulder. And I saw him and this means nothing, right? But I saw him and Jahan today post. Jahan's like, yo, what's going on? It's 1 and 2. I'm like, yo, that's dope. Obviously, he's 1, Bieniemy's 2. And Bieniemy's like, yo, we out here getting work in. We out here. And so I think Bieniemy is poised. I don't want to call it a breakout season. Not with all the weapons that we have. I don't know if that's possible. But for him, for his standing on the team and for what he's done, this could be a breakout year for him. 37 catches for 479 yards and 4 touchdowns is a breakout year for Bieniemy Brown. Not for most guys, but for him, that would be a huge season. By far and away his best here in Washington. Obviously, he's a much more explosive and dynamic receiver than that. I would hope 37 catches would result in much more yardage than 479 yards. But you get my drift. You understand. I mean, he had 3 catches for 105 yards, so 2 catches for 105. I would hope that 37 catches would result in damn near 700 yards for him. That's the kind of production you're looking for from a dynamic receiver with explosion like Bieniemy Brown. But anyway, I agree. Remember, he cried when Sam got drafted. Bieniemy did. He prayed for times like this. So I think he's excited. LT, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. LT writes, season stat prediction for all NFC QBs in 2023. I don't have that for you right now. And we'll probably do that on one of these Super Friend streams where we'll go around and we'll start, because they got a lot to say about Sam. And clearly there's a pecking order in the division right now. And Jalen Hurts is probably at the top. Not probably. He's at the top right now. And so we'll probably do that at a later date and time. I'm not going to do that right now. But it'll be interesting to see what Hurts has for an encore. Can Dak bounce back from the worst year of his career? Daniel Jones, a lot of trust being put in him with this new contract, coming off the best season of his career, not necessarily statistically, but stylistically. That was the best season we've seen Daniel Jones play. Didn't turn it over, very efficient, great with his legs. They maximized his skill set. Can he build upon that with more weapons that they provided him? And then there's Sam Howell, the unknown, the wild card in the group. So we'll have that down the road, LT. Mr. Pink, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Mr. Pink writes, I think Ron ranted before he knew Wentz broke his hand. Yeah, I think that rant came in, I want to say it came after a tough loss. So it might have come after the Tennessee game. You know, it was one of those games early in the season because Wentz was not hurt yet. And, you know, people were starting to doubt Wentz, and we had started rough. So it could have been right when he got hurt too. It could have been right after that Chicago game. I can't remember the timeline of when that rant was, but it really doesn't matter when that rant was. He was going to defend the decision no matter what. And he wanted everybody to know that it was his decision, not Dan's, not anybody else's. I made that decision. So, yeah. Whatever the decision was, whenever it happened, it was wrong, period. Marcus Dixon, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Marcus Dixon writes, do you think the lack of depth in the linebacker and tight end room will come back to haunt us? 1 or 2 injuries away from it being league worse. Stay up. It could. You know, anytime you ignore a position the way that we have at linebacker, it can always come back to bite you. But this is what some of you have failed to comprehend with the linebacker room. We don't play a ton of linebackers. What they've effectively done is they've minimized the importance of that position in the defense. And by doing that, they've put themselves in a position that if a linebacker goes down, they'll just do what they did last year. They'll just stick a safety. That's why they keep drafting safeties. Worst case scenario, linebacker goes down. You don't like the production that you're getting out of the other, linebackers. If it's an obvious run situation, they'll stick David Mayo in there. He's really good against the run. You don't lose anything with him on the field in the run game. It's when they start trying to throw the ball is when you start losing things, and that's when they'll just insert an extra safety. So they've minimized the importance of linebacker. If the 2 guys that they have penciled in as starters are healthy, they feel fine about the position. An injury, just like last year, could alter that position, but they'll just use a safety like they did last year, which is why they continue to add depth to that position. As far as tight end is concerned, I think there's enough depth there that they'll be fine. Amani Rodgers definitely hurts because, again, he was the most athletically gifted of the group, and it's not close. So that hurts from that standpoint. But still got Logan, still got John Bates. Cole Turner is a wild card, but, they're excited about his potential. And then you got Curtis Hodges. Is a guy that they liked last year, which is why they, put him on IR so nobody else could snatch him up. And now we're going to see what he's made of. He's going to get an opportunity. Can he stay healthy and can he take advantage of it? So I don't think they feel, like, oh my God, what did we do? We should have drafted a linebacker or we should have drafted a tight end. I think they're fine. They're not panicking right now. Chauncey Davis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Chauncey writes, who didn't want to sign Cam Sims, Ron or EB? I feel like that was more of a joint decision. If I had to lean one way or the other, I'd say that was more of an EB decision. but I can't say that for certain. EB didn't know Cam Sims, right? All he could say is, well, I got a guy that is similar to him in Marcus Kemp. If you're looking for somebody with some size and plays some damn good special teams, I got a guy. That doesn't mean he was a part of the process of not bringing Cam Sims back. But he could have been like a guy saying, hey, look, I don't know if y'all interested, but I got a dude, Marcus Kemp, that we can bring in here. I don't think they ever planned on re-signing Cam Sims anyway. So, for whatever it's worth. So, I think it was a joint decision. If I had to guess, EB would have been like, yeah, nah, we don't need to spend no real money on him. We can go get Marcus Kemp and save some money and have a similar guy. That's my guess. But, we'll see. Chauncey Davis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. OG Triple OG writes, watch Sam for 3 years at UNC. Wow. Again, anybody that watched him, how can you not walk away impressed? I'm baffled at those who just dismiss his 3 years at UNC. After year 2, when he had De'Ami Brown and Daz Newsome and, Carter at running back and Javonte Williams, and he was in the Heisman Trophy conversation for a good minute in that season and viewed as one of the top quarterbacks. How do we just go from there to the next year? All those guys leave. 3/4 of his offensive line are gone. And, now Sam, who had maybe 200 yards of total rushing in his career the first 2 years, ends up running for over 1,100 yards in his junior season. Make that make sense. Man was running for his life, having to make plays with his legs when he never had to, and he figured it out. It wasn't pretty. They didn't win as many games as they had the 2 previous years, but he figured it out. I just don't understand it, but that's why I'm so confident, because I know what I watched. And I know what the situation was. I was shocked when he was there in the 5th round. To be honest with you, I'm like, and you guys saw my analysis of him. I said he's the wild card of this draft. Don't know where he's going to go, where he's going to end up. I had a 2nd round grade on him. Just figured, Kenny Pickett would go first. Somebody would, go Google Gaga over Malik Willis because of his, athleticism, and overdraft him. And then somewhere after that, Matt Corral and Sam Howell would hear their names called somewhere thereafter. Couldn't have been more wrong. It was Kenny Pickett in the 1st round, nobody in the 2nd round, and then like 3 dudes went in the 3rd round, and none of them were Sam Howell. And none of them are better than Sam Howell. 2 of them won't even get a legitimate chance to start in their careers, I think. Because I don't think Malik Willis is ever going to get a shot in Tennessee now. And after what he did last year, and it's unfair to him because he wasn't ready, but this is what happens when you get drafted in the 3rd round and there's no guy in front of you to stop you from having to see the field, and you get thrusted into the game. We saw it with Jordan Love. When you're not ready, it can get ugly. And it was ugly with Malik Willis last year. So much so that they went out and they drafted. And again, new GM comes in. I have no ties to Malik Willis. I didn't like him coming into the league. And so I don't care about Malik Willis. I'm going to get my own guy. Now they have Will Levis. I don't think he's ever going to get a chance. And I don't think Matt Corral is ever getting a chance. Now they got Bryce Young in Carolina. So Sam's going to get a shot, and Desmond Ridder's going to get a shot. We'll see what happens. When it's all said and done, I think of all those quarterbacks, including Kenny Pickett, we got the best one. But we'll see. Kenny's in a good situation. Sam's in a good situation. We'll see what happens. Difference is, Steelers invested a 1st round pick. I saw something really interesting. I'm going to share this with y'all. And y'all probably saw this too. I think a Washington fan, I think this was a Washington fan that posted this. They said, if Sam has a Kenny Pickett type season and they posted his stats, how would you feel about Sam? And the first response I read, somebody said, we're looking for another quarterback. And they're right. And that's the difference between being drafted in the first round and being drafted in the fifth round, is you don't get a do-over. You don't get another year to build upon what you did as a rookie. I spent a fifth round pick on you. Prove me wrong right now, or else I'm looking for another quarterback. Kenny Pickett, on the other hand, was mediocre as hell last. Now, he showed me some things. I walked away towards the end of the season impressed with Kenny Pickett, but still, he was mediocre last year, was Kenny Pickett. He's going to get another opportunity. And if he's mediocre again this year, he'll get another opportunity again before the Steelers start saying, maybe we have to start looking elsewhere. So, Sam's going to have to go out and prove it right away. He doesn't get the liberty of, oh, man, this was your first year in a new offense, 2 years in the league, 2 different offenses. Oh, man, that's tough on anybody. Nah, no excuses for a fifth-round pick. Prove me wrong now, or I'm looking. And again, if they're firing everybody, that new GM, just like in Tennessee, going to come in here and say, I have no ties to Sam Howell. I'm going to go get my guy. So, it's a big year, man. Big year for Sam. Jado, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Jay writes, what up, Lou? What's up, Jay? How do you feel about Curl sitting out? I don't feel any type of way. The same way I felt about Chase and Montez not showing up for OTAs. Doesn't bother me one bit. He's participating in individual drills, but not the team drills, just like Duran at one point last year was, there. I think Terry at one point had showed up, but he wasn't participating. This is what you do when you're, trying to get a new contract. You don't want to put yourself in a position where you can get hurt. And Armani got hurt in a non-contact running drill, right? Not doing anything but running, and boom, Achilles goes. It can happen at any time, but it's more likely to happen when you're engaged in physical contact. So, you just avoid the team drills and you just wait until the pads go on. I got no issues with that. He's there. That's all you can ask for. Just like Duran was last year. Duran wasn't participating in team drills last year. He's there. That's all the team wants. Life is too dope. Thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, EB system, please work. I've been praying to the football gods. That's funny because I'm praying that it works too, man. I hope that this system is something that even if he ends up getting a gig somewhere else, it'll be so profound and the impact that it has will be so great. And guys like Tavita Pritchard and others that are there will soak it up and be able to keep the party going, even if EB is gone next year. And I'm thinking that's what Ron is trying to set all of this in motion, right? Because Ron's not an offensive guy. So I really think Ron is trying to set this in motion to where if EB is successful and this works, Tavita Pritchard will be able to pick up where he left off, and you're hoping that there's not this massive drop-off, right? That's the hope. This is the dilemma, and I've talked about this before. This is the dilemma that you find yourself in when you don't have an offensive-minded head coach. When your head coach is defensive-minded and you got a young quarterback, you marry him with a great offensive coordinator, that guy's going to get a job if he's good at what he does. And thus, Now you're searching. It's the same thing the Bills are going through right now. They had Brian Daboll. It was a perfect match with him and Josh Allen. Daboll's so good at his job. He gets hired by the Giants. They just promote Ken Dorsey, who was the quarterback's coach, thinking, oh, it's seamless transition. He'll just pick up where Brian left off. And it wasn't the same at all. And so you're not sure if Ken's the right guy. You can't just quit on Ken after 1 year. Let him learn from his mistakes and see if he, isn't a better play caller because of the things that he learned last year as his first year as the guy, right? But if it doesn't improve, you probably got, if you're Sean McDermott, you can't wait on Ken Dorsey, right? You got to figure out, like, if you can't get it done, I got to get somebody in here that can, or I'm going to pay for not being able to find a good offensive coordinator. And that's the dilemma sometimes when you hire defensive-minded guys. Can you find the right offensive guy to marry with him? You don't have to worry about that if you're an offensive coach. All you got to worry about is, can I find the right defensive, coach to run the defense? And maybe that guy gets hired. Usually it takes defensive coordinators a little bit longer to get jobs. But even if that guy leaves, you can find somebody else. Plenty of guys that know defense and come in. That's what you see in the 49ers, right? One guy goes, Robert Saleh leaves. What do they do? Just promote from within. Next guy up, really sharp defensive guy that was on the staff. In D'Amico Ryans, he takes over. Defense doesn't fall off. He gets a job. Next man up. But as long as the offensive thing is intact, you're good. So it'll be interesting to see if Ron has finally hit the jackpot with EB, and if this can set off a chain reaction to where EB, sets the foundation, Tavita Pritchard continues the work that EB did and the foundation that was laid, and then you have success there. And then if Tavita is ultimately good enough to get hired, the next guy is up. That's what you're hoping. But Ron's just trying to survive this year. To hell with all of that shit, right? Ron's looking to survive in 2023. Then we could talk about 2024 and beyond. Let's hope that EB's offense is really good. I find it hard to believe that it can be much worse than what we've gotten from Scott Turner the last 3 years. But stranger things have happened. Anyway, I digress. Jamal Hamlin, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy Jamal writes, hey, Lou, I hope the sly guy shows up and not the cry guy. We need all the points we can get. Facts. I just need him to do his job. It ain't much, man. We ain't asking for much, man. Just when we send you out there, put points on the board, man. So he's a huge part of what we do. It was refreshing last year to have a guy that was capable of banging it from 55, 56. That's nice. It's good to catch up with the rest of the league and catch up with the times, and not have a kicker that we keep talking about this incredible leg, but anything over 50, his ass misses, with Dustin Hopkins. It was so good to have, a kicker that you could send out there. And Ron didn't trust him. There were other opportunities during the season where Ron could have sent him out there to kick, and he just didn't. But, and I don't blame Ron necessarily. He hasn't necessarily earned that trust, but at the end of the day, I just need him to make the kicks he's supposed to. He missed a lot of extra points last year. Did Joey Sly, and that's I don't have tolerance or patience for chip shots. You're gonna miss the occasional extra point. Everybody does, except for Justin Tucker. Everybody misses extra points for the most part. But 1 is 1, 3 is 3. You can't miss that same 33-yarder. That's worth 3. I can't. That's not allowed. Sorry, not sorry. You missed the extra point is worth 1. It takes a little bit of the luster off the touchdown. You're like, God damn, man, shit, make the field goal. The extra point. Field goal is 3 though. That whole drive is rendered irrelevant if you don't make this kick. So I need him to make the kick, man. I need him to make his kicks. Starface, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Starface writes, Howell will be in MVP contention. Window opens now. Again, I can't co-sign that. That's a little bit too far, out for me. And I'm a staunch Sam Howell supporter. MVP talk is crazy, but what I can see, and I've already stated this, is him ascending within the NFC East ranks. And if he ascends within the NFC East ranks, it means he's ascending within the NFC as a whole, because there's not many guys that warrant conversation in this conference to begin with, which is why Jalen Hurts is at the top of this conference. There is no Aaron Rodgers, there is no Tom Brady any longer to hold the conference up. Now it's all young boys. There are no veterans other than Derek Carr over here now, who just got here, by the way. It's all young boys on this side of the bracket. Just like it's starting to turn into on the AFC side, but those young boys have shown and proved already. Herbert and Burrow and Allen and Mahomes, those boys have already proven what their worth is. Ours are still trying to fight for that. Hurts kind of proved that last year, but, our guy is hoping to throw his name into that conversation and show his worth as a young quarterback in this league as well. JP, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. My guy, John Perez writes, Lou, we need to have a serious combo about extending both of our safeties, Curl and Forrest. Too bad the new owners won't let us extend anybody yet. Well, it's not that the new owners won't let them. I don't think Ron's been in communication with the new ownership group. It's just until, if I'm Ron, I don't want to piss anybody off, right? Okay, before this thing had gotten to a point where the Harris group looked like they were in the driver's seat, Ron didn't know who he was working for, so he could do whatever the hell he wanted to do. He really had nobody to answer to. Ron could do whatever he wanted this offseason. It had to be liberating. It had to be refreshing. They would always ask him, have you talked to Dan? He's like, Dan. No, I ain't talked to his ass. We got this shit, right? That's kind of how Ron was operating this offseason. But now that you know that these are the guys that are probably coming in, now I can't piss anybody off. Now I want to do what's right by them and wait. Because Ron could, theoretically, even though, the money's kind of tied up, so technically speaking, he probably can't. But theoretically speaking, Ron could be like, yo, forget what they talking about. Let's go ahead and do this now. But if they come in and they say, bro, you've been spending real irresponsibly, and for that, you got to go. You don't want to do anything to piss the new guys off. So spending money before they get in here, it would probably constitute pissing them off. It'd be somewhere in that realm where you're like, bro, what are you doing? Just chill out a little bit. So, Curl, I think, is in the same boat as Payne, Sweat, Young. Show me. They know what Cam Curl is. And if Curl is willing to take the type of money that they probably feel like he's worth, they do a deal with him. But Curl probably sees himself in a much bigger light in terms of his importance. He's no dummy. His dad's no dummy. They've seen how far this defense has fallen and the drop off and how significant it is when he's not in the lineup. You think they wouldn't use that in negotiations? They're saying, bro, we love you. You're versatile. We can play you anywhere. However, Derek Forrest has more turnovers in one season than you have in your entire, 3-year career to this point. Pump the brakes and drive slow, homie. Drive slow. We need more impactful plays from you. You ain't made a play in that regard since your rookie season. And so I think that's where the conversation kind of is right now. And that's why he needs to go out and prove that he's worthy. And even if it's not in the form of forcing turnovers, Just continue to be Cam Curl, and then we'll just let the chips fall where they may. He's been good enough to be back here in Washington, even without the turnovers forced or the lack thereof. But again, in the league, when negotiating, turnovers equal money. Big plays equal money. You want to go to the table and you want to start bargaining and you want to start trying to, up the price, you got to go with Pro Bowls, All Pros, and turnovers. Big plays. And he didn't have any of that stuff. So Forrest, on the other hand, he's still young. They don't have to do anything with him. He's going into year 3 of a 4-year, contract. So the real time to start, just like with Cam Curl, the real time to start talking about an extension for Forrest is after this season. And you got to have an encore first. You can't be giving out money after one season. He's got to show you that again. You can't give Derek Forrest money after one really good season. You got to look at Forrest and say, do it again. Do that again. And then we may have to come and sit down at the table and talk next year. So we'll see what Derek Forrest is all about. Big step he took last year in his first year as a starter. And he wasn't perfect by any stretch of the imagination. He had his games where he was all over the damn place too. But at the end of the day, he was one of the few guys in that secondary that made plays. And so that counts for something. And we'll see if he can follow that up with an encore performance that leaves us wanting more. See if he's capable of doing that. HHC Lunar, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Who writes, I know it's not football related, but I got to ask, did you see Ja's post? Got people worried, man. It seems to be a call for help to me. I didn't see any post. All I heard was the one that said bye. Here's my problem with all of that. I don't want to get too much into that. This is more of a podcast topic. Why does everything have to be public knowledge? He's already going through a lot of shit. Like, all of this is his own doing. I don't feel bad for him in that regard. But I've already told you guys, this is more than just a guy wanting to be hard. There's a mental issue here. There's a problem that he has that he needs help with. And piling on him when he's already down, like, this is the culture that we've created with social media. My problem is everything don't have to be public knowledge. If a welfare check was done on him today, why does everybody need to know that? Why does everybody need to know that? To me, that is irresponsible of the people doing the welfare check. Nobody should know about that. If he is in a mental state that's wrecked right now, do you think that's going to make it better? Some things I will never understand, but what we've created in this society, it's not going to change, and it is what it is. So I haven't seen anything other than him posting bye, and I took it as him saying I'm off social media, but I could be tripping. Spence Collis, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. Who writes, why so hard to find a QB, Louie? There is like 5. There's more than 5 good quarterbacks in the league. It's not easy, though, to find a quarterback because it takes so much to be a great quarterback. And it's not just the quarterback himself. It takes the right situation, the right coaching staff. It starts with the player, okay? That player has to be self-aware. He's got to have the talent. But he's got to have it between the ears, right? I think what really separates the best of the best is that they're selfless. They know that they're the shit. They know that I'm the guy. I'm the man. But they also acknowledge others that have helped them, and they're fully aware of the situation and what it is. And they get it. And too often with some of these young guys that come in here with all the talent in the world, they don't understand that you're not in college no more. You're not the big man on campus, and everything don't run through you. You got to understand that I got to put in this work. First man in the building, last to leave. I got to be able to, we call it playing the huddle. I got to be able to tell everybody what they're doing, what their responsibility is, where everybody's supposed to be lined up. When shit don't work, it's my fault. When the shit does work, everybody else gets credit. And not everybody's built like that. Not everybody is good at taking criticism and getting better. Not everybody can make a mistake and say, damn, that's on me. I got to be better. And so I've already said this. It's a lot of dudes that come into this league that are talented. Jamarcus Russell was very talented. He didn't have it here, though. He didn't have it here. Zach Wilson is very talented. He doesn't have it here, in between the ears. He don't have it here. Ain't shit his fault. Robert Griffin III, we could do this all day long. Ryan Leaf. These are talented dudes. They didn't have it here, though, in between the ears. That's usually where shit goes off the rails in the NFL at quarterback. Not talent, not arm strength, not athleticism, none of that shit. They got all of that. That's how they got drafted. It's usually because they don't have it in between the ears. Joe Rockhead, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Thank you for being a member of the MOBB. My guy, Joe Rockhead, writes, "Sup, Lou? Did I miss combo about trademark denial? I brought it up. I told him that you hit me up and you sent me that, and I didn't really know what to do with it. And I didn't really know if it was what you were telling me. I kind of did, but I had to look it up, and sure enough, they could be in a tough spot. And I talked about that, Joe Rockhead, I really don't care as much. I've already, pretty much said, I don't have the energy to fight a new rebrand if that's what's coming down the pipeline. New name, new uniforms, new logo, all that shit. How many times have I had to rebrand the name of one of my shows? I'm over that shit now. I don't have any more mental space for that. It was the Redskins report. Then it was the, Washington football team report or whatever. Now it's the command post, and it may be something else, right? Like, I don't have a mental space. At this point, it's going to be what it is. I just want to know, how did we get here? That's what I'm more intrigued by. Like, did Dan, leave us a big F you on the way out? Like, we shouldn't be in a position where the trademark had expired to where someone could swoop in and scoop it and squat on it. Like, how is this even possible? Was Dan planning this all along? Like, this is his final F you to everyone? Ha ha, joke's on you. Maybe. I don't know, but that's crazy. Jado, thank you for the super chat. Greatly appreciate you. Double up. Thank you for doubling up. Who writes, Lou, did you see Terry and Jahan? Do you see Terry and Jahan both getting 1K? Yeah, I do. Healthy? Yeah, I do. The more interesting question, I seen someone today post, is this finally the breakout year that we've been waiting on for Terry, where he goes for over 1,400 yards? That's the number at wide receiver. Even though I feel like that number is drastically changing because of the extra game. But 14 was always that number. As for a receiver, you hit 14, you had a hell of a season. You did big things, Now with that 17th game, maybe that number is now 15. But because dudes are hitting 14 like it's nothing now. But when I say dudes, I'm talking about the elites, not just anybody. Calvin Ridley ain't hitting 1,400 yards. I think he's hit 13 though. if I'm not mistaken. I don't think he's ever hit 14, but you know what? I'm going to check to see. I'm curious now that I just brought that up. But, you know, like DJ Moore ain't hitting 1,400 yards, but I wonder if Terry can get 14 this year. I wonder if he can do that. Let's see. Calvin Ridley, 1374 in 2020. I knew he didn't hit 14, but I was like, I remember him hitting 13 something. He was damn close. Is this the year Terry finally breaks through and gets the respect? I don't know if y'all saw this. Mike Evans was on somebody's podcast. Can't remember whose. And they asked him, who's the most underrated receiver in the NFL? And without hesitation, but I don't even know if the guy finished asking the question. He said Terry McLaurin. No hesitation. Those who know, know. Right? Those who know what Terry's all about. Is this the year he finally breaks through? I could see it with Sam at quarterback. I could see it. And I think Jahan, if he's healthy, there's no way he in 1,000-yard receiver this year if he's healthy. Ain't no way. Just off the small sample size we saw between him and Sam playing pitch and catch against the Cowboys. Are you kidding me? Oh, yeah. That's a G. Easy. You see what I just did there? Killing y'all tonight, man. Y'all ain't ready for it. Anyway, I digress. Let's see. Let me make sure that I haven't missed any new members. Maybe I have. I don't see anything, but that doesn't mean I didn't miss it. It won't let me go back as far. But they usually show up here, so I don't see anything. Anyway, I digress. That's going to do it for me, your man Louie T, here on this stream. I really appreciate y'all kicking it with me. And, man, it was a lot today, man. I was just like, what? With the injury and then, you know, the trademark thing and then the whole conversation around Chase and then, you know, people coming out and being all excited about what Sam has done and then the Bieniemy effect and how this is a real thing. The Eric Bieniemy effect, the EB effect is real, folks. This shit really exists. So I'm excited, you know, but at the same time, I'm like, we always into some shit, man. Always. But we wouldn't be us if we weren't. That's kind of how I feel now. Anyway, I digress. Y'all enjoy the rest of your evening. As I told y'all, anniversary week. I have one more pod in the chamber. That'll probably be tomorrow. Everything else will be uploads. So if anything breaks, probably not going to hear from me until the other side of the holiday weekend, which extends to Monday. So you probably won't hear from me until Tuesday, but I'll have content coming out every single day. Y'all saw the series that I started. That's going to be the series that I continue with. And so if anything happens today or tomorrow, there's a chance you can still hear from me. But outside of that, once we hit Saturday, ghost. All right, I'm a ghost. So anyway, y'all enjoy the rest of your evening and take care. And I will see you guys tomorrow for the LouieTeeNetwork podcast. If you haven't already done so, check out Music Head University. That's my alternate channel where I do music. If you're interested in that, a lot of good content over there. Didn't upload one today, but you're going to get one tomorrow and Friday to make up for the no upload today. So, or yesterday rather. So you'll get one today and tomorrow. So if you haven't checked out Music Head University, what are you waiting on? Check that out. Again, If you're a music lover and you love the Louie T Network, you put those two things together, you get Music Head University. So with that said, I'm out of here. Y'all know what it is. Post up. Take command. Y'all take care. God bless. And good night. The Louie T Network is powered by Music Head University. Music Heads. Classes in session. Turn me up. Enroll on YouTube now. Link is in the description.